InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Just a few months ago, TPS witnessed one of the closest and nail-biting championship conclusions of all time with the Virtual Mini Challenge in a season that straddled 2013 and 2014. After 13 grueling, action-packed races, it all came down to the final lap of the championship at Mid-Ohio, which saw Chris Butcher take the win, but alas, his efforts were in vain, as title rival Eric Strana finished third to clinch the first TPS crown of his career. With the Swede deciding not to defend his title, Butcher now seemingly has a clear run at claiming a championship he has finished runner-up for in the past 2 seasons. Standing in his way are old rivals, up-and-coming talents looking to prove themselves, and a host of new teams and drivers keen to make an impression from the word go. Almost half the field from last season has gone, leaving a new lineup of contenders ready to assert themselves as the class of 2014. Hello everybody, I'm Scott Woodwiss and welcome to live coverage of the opening round of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge, the first championship we run for the summer, and also our first foray into Game Stock Car 2013. We are here at the fantastic Curitiba circuit in Brazil for our first opening race of the championship. And joining me for the duration of the season is a man that knows all about the VMC. He is the 2013 Series champion, an all-round good guy. It is Robert Wiesenmueller. And Rob, what are you most looking forward to this season? We've got, as I said, almost half the field has changed. We've got some new teams in there as well. Some old hands from TPS are getting there to try their hand. But overall, what is exciting you the most about 2014 for the VMC?
Hello, Scott, and hello, everyone. Last season, that was so fantastic. Such a close title battle. And here we go again. New game, new drivers, and I'm really looking forward to that. See how everyone can adapt to the new games, how everyone will do on the new tracks, especially the European tracks that are new on the calendar. We'll have night racing throughout the season. We've got many new drivers and new teams that are competing for the title. And actually, no one in the field has won the Virtual Mini Challenge so far at TPS, so everyone wants to get this title. And I think it will be really, really close and exciting.
And of course, with Rob being a former champion, he'll be providing as much expert analysis as he can on exactly what this championship is like and what it takes to become a champion. As he said, all these guys have not won this title before. The closest that anyone has come to this title is Chris Butcher, with being vice champion 2 years in a row. Well, of course, this season we share a calendar with the Virtual Clio Series, which also makes its first foray onto Game Stock Car 2013 after 4 seasons running on R-Factor 1. And this is the calendar which all 30 drivers in the championship will be contending if it decides to switch over and behave. Here we go. Right, so this is the calendar which both series are going to be sharing. We start off, of course, here in Curitiba. Now, races for the Virtual Minis will happen on Tuesdays, but it'll be alternating weeks. So it'll be Tuesdays for the Virtual Mini Challenge and Monday, and the following Mondays for the Clio. So it'll be here at Curitiba we kick off. Then we head to Zolder in Belgium for round 2. Oran Park in Australia hosts round 3 before we take a trip back to Europe with Poznan and round 4. Our second visit to Brazil comes to Cascavel before we head to Thruxton in England for the UK round, Road Atlanta in North America for round number 7, and then our third visit to Brazil with Jacarapagua for round 8, and then our final 3 runs with Verano in Italy, Nogaro in France, and of course, the season finale once again at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. The championship is spanning a massive 5 months of racing across the summer, so hopefully you guys will have something to enjoy. And of course, we take our summer break just at the end of June, all the way through to August. That's between Thruxton and Road Atlanta. So we visit effectively 4 different continents, I should say, across Europe, North America, South America, and Australasia. So hopefully there'll be something for everyone to enjoy going across the championship. So, and just to get some thoughts on the calendar, Rob, we've got a great diversity of circuits here, some fast corners, some fast circuits, some real tight and twisty technical tracks, of course, with night racing added into the mix. These guys are going to be tested throughout the whole season.
Yeah, and in the first 3 seasons that we saw on the mini so far in TPS, usually the calendars were always very similar, and a lot of tracks were reappearing. year after year. So the guys who've been there from the first season on, they had an advantage. But this time it's a bit different because with the introduction of the new game Stocker 2013, a lot of tracks have been converted to that game. So we use tracks that are more familiar for the drivers of the Clios, like Thruxton, for example, or Verano. Or we also use brand new tracks in TPS, like Nogaro, for example, the French round. So this will be really tough, not only for the new drivers, but also for the drivers that have a bit of experience in these cars.
Now, we talk drivers, of course, we have our circuits, but of course, we need our lineup of teams and drivers. So, let's introduce you to the 30 men that are going to be taking part at least for tonight's first season opener. And of course, the big name is the man in top left, car number 5, Chris Butcher, the man who's been so close to the championship. And we may also talk about him a little bit at length. But of course, Rob, you've been teammate to him for the past 2 seasons. You were the man that challenged him for the championship in 2013. Across the 2013-14 season, of course, you were thereabouts to give him some assistance in the latter half of the season after you had some technical problems that forced you out of the championship running. But now coming into 2014, of course, as it's mostly been a lot of changes on the grid, a lot of teams have stepped up their efforts, a couple of new teams have come in, some new drivers who we haven't seen before. Would it be fair in saying that Chris Butcher has possibly his best shot at a TPS title that he's had in his career?
It's hard to say because the level of the new guys or the guys who are coming back for a full season, that level is so high as well. Of course, it's a good opportunity for Chris because I'm not there, Eric Strane is not there, Eric Twite is not there. So some of the obvious choices for a championship, they're not on the grid. But on the other hand, for example, we've got Jesper Torvog, the most successful driver in history of TPS, and he's practically taken my seat in the THR Red car. Then we've got guys like Adrian Campfield and Paul Patrick, who've been coming into the league in the latter half of last season, and they've been doing a really, really impressive job. And Campfield has won a race as well, and a lot is to expect from these guys who are driving for Walk Racing this time. Or, for example, Hani Al-Sabti, a new guy from Madcape Racing, who's been a finalist at GT Academy at the Benelux version. So this guy certainly knows how to drive a car.
And of course, looking through the field, the teams and diversity of talent that we have across the field, of course, we've got THR running 4 cars, Walk Racing really stepping up with a mammoth 7-car effort, including drivers such like Ryan Callan, who, of course, is a stalwart of TPS and, of course, our very beloved admin. So, of course, thank you for Ryan for putting everything together once again. Of course, we've got Adrian Campfield and Paul Patrick, of course, who are pressed in their own team, but they have been picked up by Walk Racing, the team run by, of course, Mr. Karamadaru Andrei Bogdan. Of course, Archik Razvan coming in as well, and these 3 new drivers coming in as well. I spoke to Ryan before, and he was telling me about these 3 new drivers we've got. We've got Peter Hennenberg, Klaus Neering, both of those 2 guys from Denmark, and Gus Verver from Holland. Now, we don't know too much about them, but Ryan has told me, with regards to these 3, I bring up the comments he made before this one, that Verver is quite a solid driver and has raced in other leagues before. And both Hennenberg and Neering are 2 hotshot Danish drivers from sim racing leagues where they've been absolutely tearing it up. So they've been looking for a brand new challenge. They've come over to TPS with Walk Racing. And also, as we said, Hani Al-Sabti in here as well, of course, a GT Academy finalist, as Rob mentioned. So a nice depth of quality, and of course, other drivers to look out for, as we had before. Drivers like Ryan Walker at Optimum Sim Racing, who's going to be always there or thereabouts, looking very impressive. John Monroe, who's usually been racing in the Clios in terms of front-wheel drive efforts, now steps it up, and he was also my very fond my co-commentator, of course, last season. He wants to step it up and have a go at minis himself. He's joined THR. He's passed the orange outfit alongside Thomas Madazeski. Matti Orban for Optimum Sim Racing, again up there alongside Jonathan Osserklint, the stalwart of that team. And also don't count out also Puppy Racing. The team, they might be comical, but their commitment certainly isn't. Oscar Hardwick, Tom Ely, and Chris Shepherd all looking fairly strong. Like we said, across the rate, and of course, GT Competizione also, 4-car effort, which is led, I think, personally, by Pepe Rodriguez, and also with Miguel Cardozo, Diogo Silva, and Luis Fernandez. There's such a depth of talent in this field, Rob, that really a race winner could come from any of these 30, in all fairness.
Yeah, it's hard to say who would be at the front, and I also think it's a good sign that teams like Walk Racing and Madcape Racing have been, have been close to the front, but they haven't won races in the mini so far. That these teams, they've put together a really strong lineup to attack the season, and yeah, I think that's very good to see. Puppy Racing, of course, a new team with Tom Ely leading it, and Tom Ely was the setup guy of Ice Cold Racing, of the team that helped Strana win the championship. So now Tom Ely built his own team because he thinks he can do it as well. Why not as a driver and team manager, not only as an engineer? So it will be really exciting.
Well, here's your first images of the cars out on track for the 2014 season, and the man that's currently setting the times at the moment is Adrian Campfield. Of course, Adrian, a former racer in real life, he's driven in the Formula ADAC Masters, and also was part of the search for a V8 supercar star over Australia with an X Factor style competition, where the prize was a drive in the real V8 supercars, not virtual. And practically anyone could drive in virtual V8 supercars. It's a real V8 supercar with a view to racing at Bathurst, but of course Adrian's now taken more of a backseat from his real racing commitments and decided to come and tear it up in the world of virtual racing, and of course he's certainly doing a grand job at the moment. He's currently quickest of the times. I believe this is either the end of practice or going into qualifying, but of course he is currently top of the times currently, as we're watching on screen at the moment the Mad Kate Racing trio of course Javier de Carvalho, third quickest. Great effort from him with a 1:32.798. Of course, he's partnered this season by Jimmy Hughes and also Hani Al-Sabti, the GT Academy finalist. So that's going to be pretty intriguing to see how he gets on this season, how he handles racing on a PC rather than just on the PlayStation. Of course, I see he has done some racing on R-Factor 2 in a sim racing championship with the BTCC NGTC Honda, as well as you see John Monroe's popped to 7th. He's in 7th and actually going quicker in Sector 1, so we'll focus on that at the moment. But let's talk about, of course, some of the drivers that are coming, because John Monroe, we know he's a very capable driver, but he's had quite a bit. His TPS career has been quite the story in terms of musical chairs. I mean, he's started off when we first saw him, of course, at Ice Cold, then he ventured across to Precision, then he went to Aerostream, now he finds himself at THR. Do you think possibly with this team he may have found a home? Because it seems as though, of course, he wanted to give the Minis a go. He's had experience in Clios, but what do you think we can expect now in a team like THR? How much do you think he's probably going to further develop as a driver in front-wheel drives going into the season?
Well, of course, I hope that he will have a great season and develop very much as a driver, since I've been the one who signed him for THR for this league. And I think when you followed a bit Virtual Touring Masters in the last year, of course the cars are completely the opposite to these minis, but there you could already see that I think John has had his breakthrough as a driver, because he's won a race in a dominant fashion at the Österreichring, and now he's moved to THR, which has been one of the strongest teams in the history of the Virtual Mini Challenge. After all, they've won the Teams Championship in every single season. So yeah, I think this is a good move for him, and he can certainly improve. But of course, it's also his first race in these cars, because he's always been commentating before. So maybe we shouldn't put the expectations too high for this first round.
Well, of course, John Monroe took his first ever TPS victory. If you guys remember back at the Virtual Touring Masters with the big Group 5 DRM race cars, very different beasts compared to these small little minis. But he took his first victory of his TPS career at the Österreich ring round, where he was rather dominant and had a couple of chances to possibly take more victories at either both Salzburg ring and also at Fuji. Fuji, that was it, before he had some tyre problems. But Jesper Tolberg we just saw there, of course. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but I ever recall seeing him at the wheel of a virtual mini challenge car before. But so he's had experience in Clios, but as Chris Butcher's attested to many times before, I mean, the Clios are one thing, but the minis are certainly another. So what kind of a challenge do you reckon he's going to face coming into this season?
Well, Jesper has never been participating in the TPS version of this league, but I've seen him driving in the minis elsewhere, and he's certainly quick. So I think Jesper will be on the pace right from the beginning. I've seen him now in practice, he's only in 11th, so I think there's a little bit more to come from him. Of course, the Clios and the Minis are completely different cars. Minis are, first of all, much slower, but they've also got a completely different feel of, when you drive them. So it's two completely different pair of shoes, but someone of the caliber Jesper, one of the best drivers in TPS history, I think he won't take much time to get used to these cars again, and I think he will be at the front from the beginning.
Now we've got them on screen right now. Of course, we've looked at Hennenberg, who was looking pretty quick so far on the lap he's currently running at the moment. But Walk Racing, 7-car effort for this season. Overkill much? Because that's, of course, it's not so. We've seen obviously Precision and of course THR have gone further than that. They've gone with an 8-car effort with 4 separate 2-car teams. But I mean, Do you reckon that bringing in these 3 new talents and bringing on the likes of people like Adrian Cantfield, Paul Patrick, I mean, these guys are serious. They want to win a championship, and I think with the level of talent they brought in for this championship at least, I think there's potential there to at least grab themselves a couple of race victories.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially with Campfield and Patrick, because the way they came into the league last season was just impressive. And Campfield won his first race that he actually competed in this league. And I think for Warg Racing in general, they've put together a very strong lineup, but it's not the first time that they put together such a strong lineup. I mean, we can remember guys like Van Dorn driving for them in the Supertech series, or last season, Peter Davila, who's a previous champion in this league, he was driving for them in the minis. And I think, the Warg Racing, they've been around for a while now, and maybe now it's the time that they can actually start winning lots of races and battling for the championship outright. And I think that's what they want to achieve with this lineup.
Well, of course, THR will stand in their way, of course, and I'm sure the likes of Chris Butcher, Jesper Tolborg, John Monrose, we talked about, and Thomas Madazeski. Let's not forget about him, of course. He seems to be almost the guy that fades into the background in some cases with THR, with all the that's in all fairness faster drivers that are in there. But of course, Thomas is a talent in himself, and of course, always is up there thereabouts. Finished 13th in the in practice. I mean, obviously, what kind of a role? How important do you think, Rob, is Thomas's role in the team? Because of course, he seems to be the guy that's always there to kind of help support the other drivers and just play his part rather than be, in all fairness, an out-and-out contender. But that's not taking away from his speed, because he has shown flashes of brilliance from time to time, and he can step it up when he needs to.
Well, Thomas has a very important role in the team because he's got a lot of technical knowledge. First of all about the cars, but also about the game work. So when everyone in the team always has problems with the game, and the cars, and the setup, and so on, and Thomas can always help them out. And he's shown lots of pace in these particular cars, especially in the second season, the 2013 season. But for some reason, he never really managed to convert that into a podium finish. And I'm just hoping for him that in this season he has a little bit more luck and he can really convert this pace into a podium finish.
Well, fingers crossed as we head into qualifying right now. We're 2 minutes into our 10-minute session. It's pretty straightforward. Minutes, run as many laps as you want, and of course, fastest man, of course, gets pole position. And the Curitiba circuit, of course, it's a rather novel circuit in itself. It's titled the Autodromo Internacional de Curitiba. Other names include Autodromo de Pinhais and the Circuito Raul Boisel. It's simply 3.695 kilometers in length, or that translates to 2.296 miles. 11 turns, and the lap record overall, of course, is in terms of any car that's set a time here, 1 minute 9.772, set by Andre Couto in the World Series by Nissan, which is of course now known as Formula Renault 3.5. Not exactly going to go as fast as that today in our minis, but of course, Rob, let's get your opinions on the circuit. Curitiba, long straights, very technical first few corners, a long final corner as well, some sweeping corners in between. Kind of almost a perfect circuit because we've got almost everything you could want from a racetrack. All in one go, it's settled in just about 2 and a bit miles.
This is one of my favorite circuits on the calendar. Well, one reason for that is, of course, because I won my first DPS race here back in season 1. But the other reason is on this circuit, it's quite demanding, but you also have a lot of space, especially on the straight, and you can just draft and battle and try to make overtakes in almost every corner. And this race has always been really exciting in the championship. It's been the start of the championship in the past 2 seasons as well. So yeah, it's a great circuit as we see the first times coming in as well in the qualifying session. Currently Chris Butcher in first place.
And now heading onto the pit straight, we've got Adrian Cantfield in the tow of his teammate. That's car number 71, which is of course that's Paul Patrick. These two almost running in tandem, like they joined at the hip in the practice sessions. They come across the line, and let's see what times they've set. Well, Patrick only goes to 14th quickest. No, he doesn't. Does he? I'll see where they've got to. Cantfield is only 18th, and Patrick hasn't set a time. I don't think just yet. Nothing's come through on the screen. So we know they have, but it's an initial benchmark lap time for them to better later on in the session. They're currently going quicker than the current pole time, which is set by, would you believe it, Chris Butcher, reigning vice champion. He's currently fastest by both Tom Ely and Klaus Neering, who, believe it or not, have set the exact same time, 1:33.110. But it looks like it was Tom that said it first, so of course he gets the second place at the moment, and Neering in third. But a lot of drivers out there improving. Tom Ely, Chris Shepard, Ryan Callan, Peter Rodriguez, Malizewski, Gus Verba, they're all going fractionally quicker in either the first or second sectors. It seems to be that kind of circuit, Rob, where you can set a good lap time even though it's not the fastest sector, and these guys tend to just, in these sectors, you seem to just tend to find several hundredths on the guy in front, on the guy that's fastest in the times, and that seems to be kind of, you have to be careful to try and hook it up, as Campfield goes a full almost 0.3 of a second quicker up in sector 2. So this is looking like a pretty mega lap, or it was, until he went wide. He went wide the exit the S's, so he may have put the commentators curse on him already.
Well, Pipo Rodriguez just went fastest on 32.9,
Oh, wow.
but what we will see is that these times will drop a bit more. We've seen times of 32.6 in practice from both Paul Patrick and Adrian Campfield, as Campfield goes fastest in 32.8. The lap record on this track is 32.400 in these exact cars, held by me. And no one will beat that because the cars are a little bit slower this season, and also the track has gotten a bit more bumpy. So, well, maybe someone will beat it. I would be very surprised though. But I think a time like a 0.6 or maybe even a 0.5 is very realistic, so there's still a bit of time to find. Another thing that we've been seeing, especially with Campfield and Patrick, is that they've been drafting because of the long start-finish straight, and also there are quite a few more straights. It makes so much sense to draft in these cars. And I think we'll see lots of teams. Yeah, here we see the THR guys are also trying to draft to set faster sector times. I think the times will drop a little bit.
I think that the fastest lap time was that a bit of a moral victory claim, that one, he said, because you seem quite proud of that fastest lap record around here in Curitiba.
Well, I didn't win any races last season, so that's like the only thing that's left for me.
Go with it. Until someone beats it, go with it, I say, that's not a problem. Right then, so across the line they come, both Jesper Tolborg and Chris Butcher. Across the line they go. Is Jesper going to improve? Butcher goes second, Tolborg goes sixth. So it's Campfield and Butcher on the front row for the moment, with just over 3.5 minutes left to go. And now I believe looks like they're going to swap places. So now I believe that must be Tolborg allowing Butcher through on the inside, which indeed he does. And
oh, that was not the way they planned it. Definitely not.
May as well stick with Chris to see if he can improve. As Klaus Nierings goes to fifth with a bit of help from his teammate. That's number 35 that's behind him, which I believe is, if I look on my screen, 35, that's Peter Hennenberg. So these two Danes, of course, we seem to get these cars that are almost conjoined at the hip together. Of course, we've got both these teammates and there's a lot of tandem drafting. And with these minis, obviously you've done this many times before, that seems to be the key to getting a good lap time, using the fact that obviously a lot of teams do this in TPS, using the draft from a teammate in front. It's not something we see too much in real motorsport. We see it occasionally, but it seems to be that in sim racing this seems to be a favoured tactic, that effectively you can gain time on the car on a team up by using them as a tow without really losing too much from the aero effect in front.
Yeah, actually in these cars you have more grip when you're in the draft as well, so there's nothing like dirty air, so it's not a phenomenon in these cars. You just have more grip and the draft, so you're definitely going faster. And in real motorsport sometimes you could see it as well. I remember in the World Touring Car Championship a while ago when the Seat diesel engine Leons, they were doing it. They were going on this exact track with 5 cars in a row. We don't see that here, but we see always pairs of 2 cars. You see Walk Racing split their team up. Patrick and Campfield going together. Nuring and Henneberg going together as well. As Gus Verver goes into 2nd place for Walk Racing. That's a great time from him.
The Walk Racing currently lock out the front row, and of course, in terms of like team tactics in the World Touring Car Championship, if anyone watched the racing at Marrakesh this past weekend, of course, we saw that Citroën immediately exerted their dominance on the championship with a rather team formation finish in races 1 and 2. If you don't want to know the results and you want to find out later on, I suggest you put your fingers in your ears and mute the stream now. Done it? Good. Because of course it was, again, apologies, this is a spoiler for yourself, Rob, if you haven't seen it, but it was victories for Jose Maria Lopez and also for Sebastian Loeb on his first weekend as well. Managed to win race 2, a rather crazy race 2 that saw a rather controversial incident between Mehdi Benani and Tom Coronel. And Mehdi came out with a classic line and hit Tom Coronel. He went, "I was crying because it's you." And it was quite an emotional, but yet at the same time quite funny moments in World Touring Cars already. So fingers crossed we don't get any of that in Virtual Mini Challenge. Rob, we know of course this is a championship, as with that this can really cause emotions to run high, and we saw that many times last season. And in order to try and overcome that, what do these guys obviously, if such a situation occurs, what do these guys need to make sure they're doing to allow themselves to get over any incidents or any emotional factors of the of racing here as quickly as possible, because effectively, if your head's not in the right place, then effectively you won't be in the right place on the racetrack either. That's for sure.
Well, to be honest, I've been always struggling with that I got way too angry after some small incidents and so on, so I can't really tell you the solution there. I think you just gotta move on and say, okay, this what happened, and you try again, you go flat out in the next race. And yeah, this is a whole new season, so hopefully no one holds a grudge. And we see Paul Patrick on a really fast lap. Purple now out of the second sector, will cross the line pretty soon. And yeah, he goes on pole position, 32.6, that's the times we were talking about. Really nice lap, and 1, 2, 3 for Walk Racing at the moment. Their team boss, Mr. C, will be over the moon at this result if it stays like this. And the session is already over, the time's already up, so there's not, you know, people don't really have enough time to set the lap times. So let's see if anyone's still on a good lap and can beat them, because otherwise that might be it.
Well, Klaus Nearing is currently on a lap at the moment. He's currently up on a personal best in 7th, but he's running a little wide into the hairpin. Of course, he's got a couple of pieces of traffic in front of him. That's Andy van der Velde in the Roccat racing car, and also Hani El Sabti as well in the 87 car, one of the Madcate racing machines. And Nearing's not going to beat that because he's 3/10 off pole position, although he is actually up on a personal best by almost 1/10 of a second. So he is dragging Peter Hennenberg behind him also, but it doesn't seem as though that Hennenberg is improving on his time at this point at the moment. So it looks as though we possibly have our grid, unless Nearing can jump himself up. Currently still has the same time as Tom Ely in 6th, so if he does manage to get this time, he will get himself onto row 3 alongside Pepe Rodriguez, still in front of Nearing, that without the aid of a toe, but can get behind our subs, and he does go quicker. He goes up to a 33.075, and Tolborg is up also in the second sector. He is up on a lap as well, with no aid of a toe at all, but Tolborg certainly showing his class as he heads into it. Also, Diogo Silva on a personal best as well, unless he got it, I'm not sure if he got that in before the clock ran 0, because that's already run out, so I'm pretty sure that's the time after the flag is dropped. But Tolborg now looking to try and bid himself to move up a little bit further up the grid to help his teammate Chris Butcher, comes across the line, goes up to 6th, so he displaces Klaus Nearing off the 3rd row, and he will line up alongside the GT Competizione car of Pepe Rodriguez as the session is over, and we'll get to see the grid in just a moment's time as to how they line up, and of course we'll run you through it. But of course it is for the moment, a Walk Racing 1, 2, 3 on the grid, with Chris Butcher, the vice champion, in 4th place. How's the race going to pan out? We'll look at the grid in a few moments' time, as well as do the build-up to the opening round of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge here on Touring Pro Series, live on broadcast in just a few minutes' time after a word from our major sponsor, Inside Sim Racing. Back in 2.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to live coverage of the season opener for the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge here on TouringProSeries.com. That was just a quick word to our forum hosts, our very good friends over at Inside Sim Racing. So thank you very much to Darren Ganji, Sean Cole, and all the crew over there for their efforts to helping us at least give somewhere to organise this championship. We really appreciate everything you do for us going forwards. Scott Woodwiss and Robert Wiesenmueller here to help you guide you through all the action for tonight's 2 races. And it is going to be Paul Patrick, Adrian Campbell, and Gus Verver making it a Walk Racing 1, 2, 3 on the grid with Chris Butcher in 4th. But Robert, team we didn't really talk about is GT Competizione. We talked about them briefly looking at the teams, but 5th place for Pepe Rodriguez on the grid alongside Jesper Tolborg. I've got to admit, with also Diogo Silva up there in 9th as well. So 2 cars in the top 10 for that team. Pretty good effort.
Yeah, I think you could already see in the Virtual Carrera Cup just held during the winter at TPS that these guys are really serious about it. They're putting in good preparations, and maybe we can go to one of their cars so we can see their livery as well, because it looks excellent.
I'll see if I can find one of them out on track. If they are out on track, I'm trying to see who else is on that. Luis Fernandez is out there in 24th, so we'll keep talking, Rob, and I'll be able to find them on screen for you.
Well, these guys,
There we go.
they're very serious. And GT Competizione, they've got one of these race centers in Portugal and Porto, I think. So this is an actual place where people can go and they buy a ticket and then they can sit there with the triple screen and the racing rig and the steering wheel and they can play racing games. So yeah, they've got a virtual racing team as well, and these guys are doing a pretty good job, it has to be said. Got Luis Fernandez now on the team as well. He was driving for Smile Power Racing in the previous season, and now he's switched to GT Competizione, one guy with experience in these cars. But it seems like, Pipo Rodriguez doesn't really need the experience in the cars. He just goes 5th in his first qualifying session. No problem. So, I'm really looking forward to the season. I want to see what these guys can do and come up with when they've got a bit more experience.
Pipo's always been threatening there or thereabouts in a lot of the championships that he's managed to go into, and he certainly has seen a real improvement in his pace across with every lap, every race that he takes part in. So definitely great to see that Pipo is up there in 5th position. If he's actually even out of the pits, yes he is. Here he comes. Pipo Rodriguez was lined up on the 3rd row. Great effort from them. Of course, the other machine that's in the top 10 for GT Competizione is that one of Mr. Diogo Silva, who of course we saw, I think our first time we saw him of course was for the Virtual Carrera Cup, and I believe that was either for GT Competizione or, correct me if I'm wrong, that must have been for Ghost Speed. It was one of the two, but definitely good to see Diogo spreading his wings. And one thing I also wanted to point out as well is that there's obviously, apart from about three or four drivers, the majority of the field here is a European contingent. I mean, I worked something out looking at the field. I mean, a third of the field is made up of British drivers, of course, and that's obviously whether or not they're English, Scottish, Welsh, or from Northern Ireland. But a third of the drivers in the field are British, and the rest, apart from I think 4 which are lining up on the field, which are not for sale. Well, it must be 3 in fact, because I counted Hani Al Sabti by accident because of the flag he had. But looking on there, of course, we've got of course Javier de Carvalho and David Nannon, and that's pretty much it. Those are the only 2 non-European drivers. The rest either all come from the UK or from continental Europe, from either Germany, from Portugal, from Holland. Or either from Scandinavia, of course, or either from Sweden or from Denmark or from Eastern Europe, if they're either Polish or Romanian or Hungarian. So a nice diversity of nationalities which are being represented on the grid. But it just shows the depth and reach that TPS has on the championship, and how many nations want to come and play with us here in the championship.
Yeah, I think it's also, of course, because of the time zones. This race is held during the week, so for people who are not located in Europe or South Africa, which is in a similar time zone, it's of course very hard to participate in the league. But I'm pretty sure TPS will bring some leagues for other time zones as well. As we're now in the race session, so it's about to start. We have a formation lap and then 17 race laps. The race gets underway with a standing start, so that should be quite exciting, as they're all lining up now for the formation lap.
They are indeed, and of course we're now hopefully going to see them off on the formation. Off they go then. So let's take you through the grid for the season opener of the Virtual Mini Challenge here at Curitiba, and it is, as we said, a walk racing 1, 2, 3, a lockout of the first 3 positions. Paul Patrick lines it up on pole position. He gets the honour of claiming the first number 1 spot of the championship, with Adrian Campfield, his prestigious teammate, alongside him on the front row. Row 2 sees Gus Verver in his first championship race in TPS. What a debut that is, for 3rd place on the grid, alongside the vice champion, the man that probably wants to win this championship more than anyone else on the grid, Chris Butcher, 4th place on the grid. 5th, Pipo Rodriguez, an awesome effort to get himself up there for GT Competizione. And 6th, Jesper Tolborg, his first race in the VMC in TPS, 3rd row of the grid. Very impressive as ever for the Iceman. 7th, Klaus Neering, of course, his first race of the championship. He lines up on row 4 with Tom Ely, the highest placed puppy racing machine, in 8th. 9th place, Diogo Silva in the 2nd GT Competizione car. And John Monroe in his first race for THR in the minis, rounding out the top 10. Ryan Walker, 11th place. Great effort from the Scotsman to put himself up there for Optimum Sim Racing. He lines up on row 6 alongside Jimmy Hughes, the highest of the Mad Cape Racing cars. He lines up 12th. Peter Henneberg in his first race is going to be also in 13th place alongside Oscar Hardwick. Of course, a very formidable driver learning his craft in tin tops in TPS. He lines up on row 7, and I'll let Rob do the rest of the grid. I'll say that Chris Shepherd is in 15th place on the grid, so for Optimum Sim Racing. And in 16th place, Tomasz Malczewski in the first of the THR yellow machines. And Rob, take it away from the rest of the grid.
Alright, so we've got in 17th place Ryan Cullen, the administrator of this league, only 17th. I think he will be disappointed with that. Then Matteo Ban in 18th place for Optimum Sim Racing in his first race in the front wheel drive. 19th, Xavier De Carvalho, probably a bit disappointed as well after his good practice time, followed by Andy van der Velde for the Rocket Racing team. Then the guy we talked about before, Hani Al Sabti, only 21st for Matt Cape. Let's see where he can get up in on the grid in the race. Then in 22nd, Jonathan Ockerklint for Optimum Sim Racing, followed by Miguel Cardoso for GT Competizione and his teammate, Luis Fernandez. Then we've got Aricho Grasvan for Walk Racing in 25th, and in 26th is Paul Crawford, one of the independent drivers. 27th, David Nunn in the only Smile Power racing car, followed by Stefan Kosubek for the KT Racing Team, I think? TK Racing Team, that's it. Followed by his teammate, Marcelo Tocco, and rounding out the grid in 30th position is Matt Ammons, another independent driver. And now they're lining up for the grid. Hopefully everyone has got the brakes warmed up. The tires don't really need so much warming up. See the Walk Racing cars lining up. Has to be said, great qualifying from Walk Racing, but all 6 races that we had on this track so far in the history of the VMC have been won by THR drivers, so let's see what Chris Butcher can do, or maybe Jesper Torvik even. Who do you think will win it, Scott?
It's going to be a tough one. Either Walk Racing and Chris Butcher could walk away from this one, but of course we're going to wait now for the lights as the final few cars get themselves into place. We have 9 race winners and 8 race winners and 9 podium places on the grid, and we get set for 2014, the Virtual Mini Challenge, the first round of the championship here at Curitiba. Lights are up, and when they're out, we are racing for the Virtual Mini Challenge. Away they go, smoke from the line, but off they go. Great start from Paul Patrick to head them down towards turn 1 as they charge down towards together, all 30 of them in a pack. As Campfield slots into second place already, and with a great start, he's already past Verver as they head down towards turn 1 for the first time. They're 3 wide almost.
Look, Butcher goes for second place. Oh, there was a bit of contact. Rodriguez round the outside.
Goes for second place, and Rodriguez has got the outside run, and also Nearing's trying to get himself involved. He almost moves across on Talborg as they're still 2-3 wide behind, trying to sort themselves out. Van der Velde is wide on the inside for Rocket Racing in the background as they come down towards the end of the first sector, and it is still Patrick from Campfield trying to run away with it as Butcher and Rodriguez still side by side into the right-hander, with Nearing and Talborg rounding out the top. Gus Verver and Nearing rounding out the top 6, and Rodriguez won't give it up easy. And also now we see, of course, Talborg wants to get him, Verver wants to get himself involved, and so is Talborg. They're going to be side by side again. Rodriguez has got the inside line.
Oh, Butcher runs wide. Butcher. Oh, loses so much there. He was just way too deep into this corner. He's just lost so much ground already. Back to 6th position. And Walk Racing, Patrick and Campfield trying to get away at the front. Oh, it's so close here.
Through the S-curves for the first time, and cars couple of drifting well. One of the GT Competizione cars got out a little bit sideways. I think it must have been possibly either Rodriguez or Diogo Silva. But back towards the front, and look at these two. I'm worried if these guys are going to start running away with it already, because Paul Patrick will lead the field to lead the first lap of TPS VMC 2014. Here they come. He's going to be chased by Adrian Campfield. Peter Rodriguez, what a start from him, up from 5th to 3rd. Talborg up to 4th. He's got around both Butcher and Gus Verver from that mistake that Butcher made running wide. And now as they come down, also see someone darting out. Looks to me that's either John Monroe or Tomasz Malczewski darting out in one of the THR yellow machines as they still pile into the first corner. As I see, you can see the number 35 is also Klaus Nearing being chased by Peter Hennenberg, and John Monroe's in there also defending from Jimmy Hughes. So a fairly clean start so far, Rob, but there's battles aplenty, especially down the midfield.
Yeah, I think at the front of the field, Patrick and Campfield, they've got exactly what they wanted. They are in the lead, and they try to build a gap now to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez in 3rd place, has to be said. That's a big surprise, the GT Competizione driver. And I think for Chris Butcher, this was a really problematic start, because it looked like he got away pretty well from the line and tried to go for the 2nd place in the first corner, but then there was a bit of contact, I think, and now he's down to 6th place, and he's got a lot of work to do.
Looking back now for Peter Rodriguez, now Jesper Talborg, what an impression he's making. Of course, we know he's the Iceman, know he's incredibly quick in whatever he drives, but he's certainly taken to this Mini Cooper JCW challenge car like a duck to water. As behind him, there's a bit of
behind him, I just said the same thing as you. Butcher tries to go around the outside of Verver. Oh, that's so close.
That is very close indeed. Verba trying to force the issue up the inside. He's got the line. Butcher has to give him space. They're going to be side by side on the exit. And I think Butcher might get the slightly better run. And just in front also I can see that Talbot is going for third place. He's going to try and take a podium place off Pepe Rodriguez. So as Butcher behind is slotting in and just ahead of Verba. But here comes Talbot for third position. Is he going to be last of the late breakers? Rodriguez has it. Talbot breaks that little bit later into the inside run. And 3 goes into third spot. So
They move Butcher also against the position behind them.
The Butcher has now gone into 5th place, and Verba now into 6th, and that's Tommy doing a great job holding up the rest of the pack as he's now forming a train which includes Diogo Silva, Pennenberg, Nearing, John Monroe. Ryan Walker's down a spot from the start up to 12th place, and he's been challenged by Jimmy Hughes as Thomas Madazeski, and also Ryan Callan's not been moved up too many places. He's trying to make his way past Matej Orban, the Hungarian involved in sim racing, and Ryan trying to get his way up the inside. But Orban shuts the door. I'm sure he'll come back later on. And Carvalho also in there as a bit of a catalyst as well, trying to get himself involved. But looks as though, for the moment at least, we haven't lost too many people as we see Haniel Sabti getting stuck in with Jonathan Osserklint for 21st place. Up the inside he comes, and we're going to get stopped in time. No, he hasn't.
Hits Fernandez there. That was a pretty big hit. I think he should just wait a little bit. Yeah, he's doing that, I think. Letting Fernandez back through. Absolute
sucker punch there into the left rear quarter of Fernandez there by Haniel Sabti. Welcome to TPS. This is not GT Academies. I'm not sure what's going on behind. It's Paul Crawford and gets sideways, and that's Fernandez. Fernandez getting it with a huge tank slapper. Did he gather it up? I'm not sure if he did. I think he did just about, but he's dropped now down to 25th place behind Orchard Razvan. So it's huge. We can probably see a quick replay of that's Paul Patrick, and look at the sideways action there. Now. And he did it all by himself. It wasn't a contact. Let's have a look. I think
there was a little bit of contact from Ockerklint behind, but nothing Ockerklint can do because he's already sideways in the previous corner. So, well, at least he caught the car and he's still going. I think everyone's still going. All 30 cars that we have.
That's good to see. It's rare that we get them all running still at this point in the race, but usually, especially with the minis. But back up at the front, it is still Paul Patrick who leads it then by 0.3 of a second. These two running in tandem as they have been for practically the whole race weekend. Car 71 is Paul Patrick, and these walk racing cars all have different coloured wing mirrors to distinguish who they are. Of course, Patrick is the car with the pink wing mirrors. Adrian Campford has the blue coloured wing mirrors. And also what's intriguing is that just behind Talborg has broken away slightly from Pepe Rodriguez. He's pulled a 0.6 of a second gap, as Rodriguez leaves a little bit of a gap, and you don't want to leave that to Chris Butcher, because any gap is an opportunity for Chris Butcher to try and get through. Couldn't get through that time. It was just in the background. A couple of cars get shoved onto the grass. I think that's Tom Ely fighting over 9th place in a sandwich between about 3 it's 2 walk racing cars. He's got Henenberg in front of him, he's got around him.
In this corner, they're pushing so hard, they're always going sideways. But of course, it's quite easy to catch in the frontal drive as Monroe has a little look up the inside of Nearing. That's where the close battle is at the moment, in the midfield here, around P10. Fastest lap again from Paul Patrick, by the way. Well, Butcher sets the fast lap. Butcher now trying to regain some time.
Heading down towards the braking of turn 1. Nearing's got a little look on the inside on Tom Ely. The pink and white car in front of the racing, and tries to make a move. We've got this fantastic onboard camera, a little bit sideways there from Ely, but these cars over the bumps are a little bit tricky to handle sometimes if they get them a little bit too nervous. But onto the back straight, onto the straight out from turn 3, you can see there that's Jimmy Hughes and John Monroe. Monroe getting very defensive, going all the way to the inside, as I think Butcher is now going to look for 3rd place, or 4th place I should say rather. So it's these two all over again off the start. Rodriguez has got the outside run, but remember, if it stays like this once again, Butcher will have to yield, and he does so indeed. Rodriguez will defend that inside line to Kingdom Come. Has he gone a little too deep on the exit? We'll find out. Butcher slots in and says, I'll get you another day. As behind, Verba and Silva are going at it. So as one GT Competizione car defends, the other goes on the attack into the S's and just about slots in behind the Dutchman. His first ever race in TPS. All we know that he is pretty rapid and he is on the pace. That's all we know about him. He has got some experience racing in Dutch sim racing leagues, but apart from that, that is all we know at this point. Of course, we'll hopefully get some words with him at some point later on at a later date to try and find out exactly what his experience is, if he has any experience in front-wheel drive cars. But so far, look at this point. I mean, at the moment, Paul Patrick and Adrian Campfield separated by 1/10 of a second. But this tandem draft they're running at the moment, they're kind of pulling away, and they've got a 2-second gap on Talborg. And getting a gap like that on Talborg at this point of the race, that's no mean feat. That takes some serious doing to try and manage that.
I guess it remains to be seen if they decide to battle each other pretty soon, because then, as we see Rodriguez going wide, this might be an opportunity for Butcher. Oh, contact again. This is very close there. I think they should leave each other a little bit more room. Butcher now has the inside. I think he's got a good chance to pass Rodriguez finally in the next corner. As he slots in behind again, it's not enough. Goes to the inside again. This is a good overtaking place. Butcher, runs wide, contact again, and he's through. That was very, very tough pass from Chris. Now into 4th place. So now we've got the 2 THRs behind Patrick and Camfield, but with this gap, if they don't start battling pretty soon, then Torok will have won't really have much chances of catching that up again.
The longer those two start to battle each other, of course, they're going to lose more time as they continue to fight over 4th and 5th position. As looking, of course, a bit how it's running at the moment, of course, it is Walk Racing 1st and 2nd, THR Red 3rd and 4th, GT Competizione 5th and 6th, with Gus Verver in 7th, in the 3rd of the 7-car Walk Racing team in this field, running up in 7th position, with Tom Ely 8th, and then rounding out your top 10 are the 2 more Walk Racing cars, Peter Henneberg and Klaus Neering, 9th and 10th. So 5 Walk Racing cars in the top 10. It's a pretty impressive feat, but they're all coming down line astern. This train led, of course, by Diogo Silva. Look at that pack, it's 7-8 cars close. It's Silva, Verver, Ely, Henneberg, Neering, Monroe, Jimmy Hughes and Ryan Walker, as again, we've got Hughes, Butcher and Rodriguez going side by side into the first corner. Rodriguez looking for an outside pass, but Butcher covered it off nicely. Butcher certainly has got plenty of experience in these minis and knows these cars inside out. Maybe with this one specifically, as of course it is a brand new platform, Game Stock Car 2013, so he has to relearn the car for the most part all over again. But definitely seeing what he can do at this point, holding off Peter Rodriguez with a great run so far. And that's going to be key, of course. Butcher showing defensive skills that he showed all through last season. And we'll definitely want to try and get Requiem for the 2 seasons that he missed out on the championship. And really is doing all he can to ensure that he's in the best possible position, despite the fact he didn't do much preparation.
Behind him, by the way, the battles are raging. There's Verver against his teammate Henneberg, and now Ely maybe can capitalize. But you can see at the back of Ely's car, there's a big dent, the rear bumper already. So these guys are really going at it. Over the grass here. That's really unsettling the car, by the way, when you go over the grass on the inside. So you should better stay away from the grass there. Again on the grass on the exit. As Henneberg goes past Verver now. Verver's dropping back a bit. Onto the start-finish straight.
And now as they come back off the pit straight, it's the 2 teammates battling, and Henneberg's had a real shuffle through the pack. He's up there now to 7th place, and he's actually now been challenged now by Gus Verver, his teammate. And they go side by side to lock out the inside run. Ely's now going to tuck in behind Henneberg if he can afford to. And he might even try and slip a move up the inside if he can. Oh, and here comes Rosie as he caused the collision. He might have done just about. And how did they get through all that without too much major collision? I have no idea. But you see now, Henneberg goes wide on the outside onto the grass. He's way wide. This is going to allow Verver with a much exit. And he's now being allowed up the inside. These two scrapping over what is now at the moment 8th and 9th position. And Jimmy Hughes is up into the top 10 as a result of the contact with Monroe. They're going to be 3 wide into the complex. And if Ely going to come out, is Ely going to come out on top of this one? I see that Verver's got, Henneberg's got the outside run. Monroe's onto the grass. He's going to go side by side with Jimmy Hughes. This is fantastic stuff.
That was a great pass from Tom Ely. Just kept the foot in. You know, they tried to squeeze him. He made it through. Oh, so close. But they all stay on track. That's really sensible driving from them. Hard but sensible. That's what we want to see. As we see Monroe now getting past Verver as well. And there's Jimmy Hughes on the inside. That's so close. I don't, it would be really exciting to be in this battle right now, but also you would be really scared at the same time, because it's so easy that you lose your car and you end up in the wall.
And also, I guess with a scrap like this, of course, when you're in the pack like this, you've been in this situation many times. I mean, what kind of mentality do you need to keep during a time like this in a race? When you're in the midfield, you're amongst a huge group of cars. What is key to ensuring that you're not part of an accident or not cause of an accident in a group of cars like this?
Probably the best solution is when you drive really carefully and always watch out and try to give space and so on. But I always drive do or die if I'm in such a big battle, because it can so easily happen that you get hit by someone else from behind. So the best thing you got to do is just try to get away as soon as possible, especially if you got a little bit more pace than these guys. Oh, Ely runs on the grass. That will cost him many positions. That's a shame. He made so much progress, but look at the walk racing cars pulling away, and there's a Metcave as well, and another walk racing car, and it just lost so much time there by going on the grass, just being a little bit not careful enough there. That's where this is a great battle, though. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. Looking back towards the battle that's going on for third and fourth and fifth, it still stayed as it is, but you're just starting just to bring in Tolborg a little bit, but the two front runners, we've almost forgotten about them as we head towards the halfway point in this opening race of the championship, and it's Patrick and Campfield just spread eagling the field at the moment by almost 3 seconds. As again, Campfield has a little look, just reminding Patrick, I'm still here, still giving you some help, pushing him along. And there's of course third, fourth, and fifth, the contenders, and of course Diogo Silva running his own race in sixth, all quiet, but it's all action stations behind as you've got the fantastic train of cars all running nose to tail as Campbell sets a new fastest lap of the race, a 32.8. Incredible time. We would have at least put him on the front row for qualifying. It's a fantastic single lap pace from him. But this huge train of cars led by Peter Hennenberg is fantastic. It's Hennenberg, Monroe, and Silva. And now we've got here nearing under attack for Jimmy Hughes. He's going to be later under brakes into turn one. Has the inside run. Now he's going to be brave if he can hold on to that outside line. But he's going to hold on for the moment. And Tom Ely was the big loser out of all of that because he had made such a great pass a couple of laps ago. And now he finds himself almost near the back of the queue, under pressure from Thomas Madazewski and Ryan Walker.
Now, something I want to say about the battle at the front. It's not really a battle at the moment, but THR guys, the gap is already 3 seconds from Tolborg to Paul Patrick in the lead. And it was 2 seconds a while ago when we looked. So Patrick and Campfield, they are really setting these fast lap times consistently as well. And Tolborg, he's known for his consistency, as we see. Oh, Monroe tries to go around the outside there. A little bit into the back of Hennenberg. And also Chris Butcher in 4th place. Remember, he's won both races last season on this track at the season opener. And now he's in 4th place and he can't really get rid of Pipo Rodriguez, who's still right behind him. So, I don't know. I think that's a little bit disappointing for the THR cars, even though they're still in good positions.
Back down towards the long right-hander. There's a long, almost slightly banked right-hander. It's torch on the left-hand side tyres. They head down the straight, and this could be intriguing. This could be a change here. Rodriguez has the toe on Butcher as they head down towards the first corner once again for lap 11 of 17. And let's see if he makes any kind of move. He's lining him up. He might force Butcher to go defensive to the inside run. Butcher doesn't seem bothered about going to the right-hand side. He's going to keep to his line, because he knows that Rodriguez is not going to be far enough alongside by the time they get to the braking zone. Rodriguez forgets where the track is at turn 2 and goes straight across the grass. That's rather cheeky from the Portuguese driver. And Diogo Silva in 6th. And Monroe has gone around. Peter Hennenberg must have been at turn 1. Although Hennenberg doesn't seem to be giving it up that easy. They're going to go side by side again. Of course, car 23 is John Monroe for THR. Defensive to the inside line. Hennenberg moving around in car 35. Doesn't stop him, making a huge lunge to the outside. And there's a small piece of body contact as they kind of kispers. And Monroe is up to 7th after that move. But Hennenberg's looking races it behind. Hughes attacking, cars nearing. That's over 10th and 11th spot.
And Ely in the background as well. He wants to make up some ground again because he lost a lot earlier. Going around Jimmy Hughes and takes a position. And now he might even have a run on nearing in the next corner. It's not quite close enough right now. But yeah, they're still battling really hard. Oh, Ely sideways. He's always sideways in this section. This is where it's so easy to just put it wrong and then you end up in the wall.
You can see, of course, on the back bumper of Tommy E's car where it's been been nibbled away by some of the opponents, also especially on the left-hand quarter. And he's just been sucker punched on the left-hand and left rear quarter. That thing has. It's surprising it's still moving in one piece at the moment. But that's
Butcher and Rodriguez, by the way, crossed the line on the same split. Butcher still stays ahead. It seems like Rodriguez isn't really trying to attack him at the moment. He just wants to stay with Butcher as Butcher closes down the gap to Tolborg.
The gap between Tolborg and Butcher last time around was 1.8 seconds. So it's come down, in fact, of course it's now less than that. It's now 1.6. So Tolborg just keeping a steady pace, but even himself though, Tolborg is 3.5 seconds back to our race leaders, Paul Patrick and Adrian Campfield. And Paul Patrick, of course, looking to grab himself a race victory. As Patrick himself scored 2 podiums last year, but he's yet to stand on the top step of the podium. That's the difference between himself and his teammate Adrian Campfield. Campfield has taken 1 race victory, and that was at Velo Park last year on the streets. That's the circuit.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Carol, I think you wanted something.
I just wanted to point out that we've only got 5 laps left to run, and if Campfield and Patrick if they have the intention of battling with each other for this win, they should start pretty soon, because otherwise the checkered flag will come out and the race is over. So, I don't know, maybe they decide to battle it out and we see a really exciting finish.
Could be seeing possibly similar tactics to what we saw back in the weekend with Citra in the World Touring Cars, just holding station. But if they're doing that for the first race already, there might be a bit of extreme tactics. We now see Hennenberg lining up John Monroe for a pass, goes inside then outside, and also just behind he's have to defend and attack at the same time, because here comes Gus Verver to the outside, almost trying a 3-wide move into turn 1, and Monroe does come out on top, but Hennenberg will come back at him through turns 2 and 3. It's tyre smoke from Diogo Silva as he gets the power down through the front wheels. And now Gus Verver wants to get himself involved as Tommy leading the gap as Matuszewski goes wide in the background, then forcing the car behind car 95. That's him battling with Ryan Walker. He holds in front at the moment for 13th spot, as now I see just ahead, that's Hennenberg getting around Verver for 8th. So these walk racing boys, they like to mix it up in the midfield, that's for sure, with these guys at least, with Hennenberg and Verver.
And that's what Monroe's waiting for, that these two battle against each other, because then he can maybe pull off a gap. Monroe's done a pretty good job at defending so far. And first of all, he had to work his way through the battling pack. And now I think he wants to get away, but therefore he needs Verver to attack Hennenberg, because otherwise Hennenberg can just stay in the slipstream, will always catch up again. So let's see if the walk racing guys will work together in this scene. As Matuszewski around Walker on the inside. Now of course Walker has the inside. And there's Oban right behind. And to get by Matuszewski. Oh, Matuszewski runs very, very wide, and both the Optimum cars are through. On to 15th position.
And that was daring stuff from Ryan Walker, trying to go around the outside of the first part of the S's. That he definitely had the confidence in the car to hold that line, to grab the inside for the right-hander. And that's what eventually forced Matuszewski to run wide across the gravel and allow, of course, Matej Orban through into what is now 14th spot. We now see, of course, Jimmy Hughes, I think, is he darting out to try and make a move on Crit Class Nearing. Get himself
the
alongside.
Optimum guys behind them, they were going side by side into the corner. And I think Orban is through. Yep, Orban is taking the position from his teammate Ryan Walker.
They're also looking forwards again to see exactly what's going on with the rest. It seems to have calmed down this mid-pack, not too much fighting going on. I would say that something's bound to happen in the next 3 laps. I can feel it, obviously now I predicted it.
I think also Rodriguez will try to make a move on Butcher pretty soon, because Butcher is not making any progress catching up to Torborg, so there's not much point of Rodriguez just following Butcher, because they've got a 3.5 second gap to Diogo Silva in 6th position. So I think he will just wait for the right opportunity and then make a move and try to make it stick on the first try.
Through the S-curves they come then. Butcher 4 on number 5. Rodriguez following suit in car number 90.
Butcher a little bit sideways there. Seems like either Butcher has damage or he's gone the wrong way with the setup, because it's when you're sideways in these slow front-wheel drive cars, it always costs you time. Oh, he's not trying to go on the inside. It looks like he's bump drafting him, or at least lifting off. I can't really see if the cars touch, but this is really strange, because I would have expected him to try to make a move.
Well, if this is a potential tactic for both Butch and Rodriguez to close in on Talbot, because Talbot doesn't have the benefit of a drafting partner or a slipstream of any kind. And whether or not this is working or not at all, because the gap between them is only now, it's now 2.3 seconds, so it's not exactly working, because Talbot in clear air is pulling away from these two who are kind of tandem drafting each other. Now, whether or not Butch is actually helping to drag along Rodriguez subconsciously or inadvertently, because of course Butch is going to try and get away to close in on his teammate. I'm not sure what kind of tactic that these two are playing here, but
Butcher can't really do much there, as Hennenberg goes past Monroe for 7th position. Oh, he's not quite passed yet. Side by side. Monroe is the inside line. He should take the position. And now there's Verve again. Hannenberg tries to get the cut back. It's almost 3 wide, but yeah, they have to slot in behind Monroe again. So Monroe really has to try hard to defend his position here. These guys from Walk Racing, they're trying everything to steal his 7th place.
Back towards, yes, he's once again back towards the hairpin once again. This long right-hander. Monroe 7th, car 23, car 35 is Peter Hennenberg and Gus Verver, number 86, back of this 3-car train. They head back onto the pit straight once again. Bummer at the head of the tow. You might say that's the man with the biggest disadvantage. He's not close enough to Diogo Silva in front to get a tow. There's also Tommy, he looks to get around Klaus Neering.
Look at this defending from Monroe, that's just proper stuff. Every time they're close enough, he's just waiting until they're close enough, and then he goes to the inside. Passing around the outside is very, very difficult here, as Monroe just closes the door once again and keeps the position. But these walk racing guys, they really have to think of a different tactic to get the position from Monroe, because he's just doing everything right at the moment.
As we look behind, Tom Ely is putting up a defensive effort of his own, holding on to the final spot number top 10. And he now fends off a huge train of cars, which includes Klaus Neering, Jimmy Hughes, and here comes Matthew Orbanes.
That's Neering.
Throws it up the inside, and he's going to come back. Oh, I think that was either frustration or Ely was just a bit too ambitious because he just clouted the rear end.
I think Ely tried to get a cutback immediately. Oh, Ely closing the door nicely there, but Hughes is going for it. I think he made a little mistake there, Ely. So Hughes is through, or Hughes runs too wide. Ely can get the cutback again. And now the Optimum cars are right behind them as well. Side by side here. All throughout the field. It's now further ahead again with Verver, Henneberg and Monroe. And Monroe's just trying everything to somehow hold on to this position. As the Walk Racing guys, they're really trying everything, and they're in a pretty good position, because for both of these guys it's their first race, as the leaders now go on to the final lap. But Monroe's doing a brilliant job.
Really is. You look at that straight away to the pit wall. He knows what's coming this time around as they go towards the
Oh, Rodriguez passed Butcher. Rodriguez passed Butcher for 4th place. Finally, he's going for it here. He's just waited until the last lap, and now he's trying to make his move. That's a pretty tactical race from Rodriguez. Butcher, I think he will seize. Wow! Monroe finally has been passed by Henneberg, and that was this first corner. So everyone's going so wild because it's the final lap. It's the last time they can use the draft to make a pass, and that was very close stuff here.
I'll tell you what, Hani Al-Sabti up to 15th place. We hardly talked about it. Haven't talked about it at all.
Oh, Butcher goes for it again. Butcher goes for it again. Side by side with Rodriguez. Oh, this will go until the finish of the race if they don't make contact. Butcher now on the outside has a pretty bad line for the next corner. Maybe he gets a run. Oh, Rodriguez squeezes him a bit. Well, leaves him enough room. That's okay. That's okay. And I think Butcher now has a good chance, because if only he can hold on around the outside to the next part, he might get the position. He's going. Oh, Rodriguez over the grass. I think Butcher has him. And I think the leaders are going to cross the line now as well. Still in formation. It didn't look quite like formation. But Paul Patrick going first onto the starting straight.
Well, what a dominant performance. These two are possibly asserting themselves as potential championship contenders. Paul Patrick starts the season with his first ever TPS victory after 2 previous podiums. Adrian Campbell comes home second. In third, it's going to be Jesper Tolborg, and the battle for 4th place is going to be side by side across the line. And look at that, literally a dead heat. But Butcher gets it for 4th. Rodriguez 5th, Diogo Silva 6th, and they come across the line. Monroe just holds out Hennenberg and Verver. They still come across the line in 2s and 3s. As Monroe flashes the lights, he's incredibly overjoyed the fact that he held onto that one. As they flash across the line one by one, it's Neering who rounds out the top 10 from Jimmy Hughes in 11th, then Matty Orban. Tommy Lee dropped to 13th in those final laps, with Ryan Walker 14th, Hani Al-Sabti 15th, Thomas Madazeski in 16th, and then Jonathan Nosser-Klimt, Chris Shepherd, Luis Fernandez, and Javier Di Carvalho rounding out the top 20. And Rob, that was I'd say it was a pretty good start to the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge. Close racing, mostly in the midfield, but you have to say back up at the front. We hardly talked about them, and for good reason, because Patrick and Campfield, in a race of their own, up at the front, winning by almost 5 seconds. Pretty dominant in many ways.
Yeah, Walk Racing, Patrick and Campfield, it was just a dominant performance, and that's only the 2nd win ever for Walk Racing. And in such a fashion, so these guys will be over the moon with that. And otherwise, especially in the midfield or in the bottom half of the top 10, it was such a great race, much battling, and it seemed like it was pretty fair most of the time. Of course, some of the cars had quite a few dents, and we couldn't see everything in detail, but most of the cars stayed on track. Looking through the top 20, of course, the first 20 drivers score points. We're missing Ryan Cullen in the top 20. I'm not sure what happened to him. We're also missing Oscar Hardwick. Hardwick finishing 25th and Ryan Cullen finishing last, so something definitely went wrong there with Ryan. But maybe we can figure it out for the race.
Pretty sure that Ryan Callan might not necessarily be the best man to talk to at this point, because finishing 30th, he's a very competitive soul and will not take finishing last in the order in a race that he is the championship that he's the admin for. Very likely he'll want to reconcile for that. And of course, drivers, as you said, down the order. I mean, Oscar Hardwick down in 25th position. Not exactly something that we expected, but it's certainly possibly a precursor to what could be going on for the rest of the championship. And as we said, Wart Racing, as Rob said, that's only their second ever victory in TPS. But I have a feeling with the lineup they have and the form they showed in race 1, that's not necessarily going to be the only victory they get this season. What we're going to do, we're going to step aside for a moment and for another message from our friends at Inside Sim Racing. We'll be back with some analysis, more analysis for myself and Rob of race 1, and looking forward to the qualifying session for race 2 as we've kicked off the Virtual Mini Challenge 2014 in style. Paul Patrick with his first victory. Can he make it 2 out of 2 and grab pole position again? We'll find out in a few moments' time. Join us in a couple of minutes after this message from Inside Sim Racing. See you in a bit.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to live coverage of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge, brought to you by TouringProSeries in association with InsideSimRacing.tv. And of course, we want to thank all of our partners who are on board to help make this possible. Of course, InsideSimRacing.tv for hosting our wonderful forums. And of course, we thank Darren Ganji, Sean Cole, and everyone involved over there. Those guys always doing a grand job for us, of course. Also, we want to say thank you, of course, to Live Racers to provide our live timing, to SimSync Pro, of course, to MultiBC to help who let us host the broadcast while that you're watching right now. And of course, to Rights to Studios, of course, for GameStop Car 2013, our very first foray onto the brand new sim, and I have to say, pretty much a success and job well done so far. If you want to keep up to date with everything that we're up to here at TouringProSeries, of course, all the details are on the screen right now. TouringProSeries.com, our official website to look at all the latest news, as well as keep up to date with all the championships and all the calendars of how these 2 summer championships are going to go. Also, Facebook.com/TouringProSeries, all the latest major news will be posted on there, as it will be on Twitter.com/Touring_Pro. If you want to keep up to date with that, give us a follow as well. And also, if you miss anything in this broadcast or any of our championships that we run, you can watch it all back in full, uploaded onto our YouTube page, youtube.com/TouringProSeries. Every single broadcast that we do gets uploaded. So, like I said, if you miss anything, any of the action, of course, you never have to miss it again, because every single race broadcast will be at your fingertips. So, Scott Woodwiss and myself, Scott Woodwiss, and my co-commentator, 2013 Virtual Mini Challenge champion Robert Wiesenmueller, alongside me here, providing his expert analysis. And as we're now looking at we're into practice now. Obviously, before the cars are out practicing before they get to the qualifying session for race 2. But we could look a little bit more about that race we had in race 1. And Rob, a pretty intriguing spectacle. Of course, we saw, obviously, that, as we said, the story of the race was mainly Paul Patrick and Adrian Count for running away with it. But behind, Carl Borg up into 3rd place in his first TPS race, and Butcher
it's
also...
not his first TPS race, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's right,
TPS actually...
first TPS mini race, I should say. Sorry, I got carried away. That's what I meant, sorry. Of course, it's not his first TPS. He's won several championships. He's our most winningest driver in TPS. I'm sorry if Jesper got insulted by that. I really do apologise. That wasn't any way to offend the Iceman. I really do... was a mistake. It's the first TPS mini race, of course, in the championship, and 3rd place on the podium. But behind, great battle between Chris Butcher and Peter Rodriguez, of all people. certainly stepping up his performance. He certainly took the fight to him, took a dive at the last lap, but he just got beaten out to 5th place. But so far, justifying his place in the championship and in the team, good performance from the first race of the championship.
Yeah, GT Competizione seemed to be right on the pace in this round, and it's their first race as a team in the mini, so there's definitely more to come. We're now heading into qualifying as well. Yeah, same format again. 10 minutes qualifying session, unlimited laps, and everyone will try to stop Patrick and Camfield from taking another front row lockout and the race win. Because I think with the performance they got, from the first lap on, they could just build the gap. They were at the front, no one challenged them really, and they could just increase the grab lap after lap. And there was such a impressive performance from these guys, so everyone has to really work hard to beat them now.
And of course, looking back, also huge battles going on through the midfield. I mean, who for you, Rob, was standout drivers? Of course, we had our debutants. We had Klaus Neering, of course, Gus Verver, of course, the 3 brand new guys at Walk Racing who are coming in for their first TPS race. To be fair, though, we continue to talk about Walk Racing. The guys at the front, of course, Patrick and Campfield, set the pace, but behind them in the midfield, these 3 guys, they put on a show. They certainly justified their place in the championship. Also, I mean, great runs to get the majority of them in the top 10. I mean, of course, they were fighting with John Monroe, who I think just beat them out at one point. But apart from that, they construct their stuff. They certainly took the fights to the TPS regulars, and they gave them a good fight. Let's be honest here. They really did put on a show.
Yeah, I think Monroe also did a fantastic job defending his position throughout the race. But yeah, at Walk Racing in general, they've got 5 cars in the top 10 in the last race. This is so impressive from them. And I think I said it earlier, they've been around for quite a while. So maybe now it's time to deliver. Maybe now it's time to actually go for the championship title. And at this sort of performance they've shown in the first race, and I don't mean only Camfield and Patrick, I mean the whole team has been very, very impressive.
Of course, it's all put together by Cam Radar and Andre Bogdan, of course, decided to step aside from the driving duties as Monroe finds the grass on the exit turn 3. And it's probably slows us that down by a couple of tenths. But it's good to see that Mr. C has definitely put together a fantastic stable of drivers for this season in the virtual minis. And of course, Ryan Cannell, of course, having 1 or 2 difficulties in that last race, finishing in last position. I'm pretty sure he'll want to bounce back. And Ryan's always obviously he's very competitive because he definitely does everything he can to make sure he's as fast as possible. But at the end of the day, of course, it just seems to be though that just on that race, whatever happens to him, we'll have to find out later on. Obviously, when we talk to drivers after race 2 to get some of their reactions from this race weekend. But Ryan will obviously want to bounce from that. And of course, I'm sure that you know from knowing him as a driver and as part of the Peppermint team that Ryan's not one to give up too easily, and that he'll want to bounce back then.
Yeah, surely. Ryan's definitely not there.
Finishing last in a championship like that.
I can't remember that. First of all, I can't remember that everyone finished in a mini race, so that's already really good for the first round of the season, especially when everyone's motivated. But I also can't remember that Ryan ever finished last, so you'll definitely, try to improve. It's the first times they're coming in. We've got someone on a 32.8. I can't see who that is at the moment. It's Jesper Torborg. Just gets beaten by Camfield now on 32.7.
Impressive stuff so far. Haniel Sapti jumps to 5th already. It's a 33.3. There are faster times that can go out there, in all fairness. As Butcher now is up by almost a 1/10 of a second, but then a lot of drivers' eyes. Someone gets shuffled out into the grass in the background. I couldn't see who that was. It's I can scroll through. Somebody's joined, but I think it's possibly that is Matt Evans in the Independence. As what was that?
I think there was a Walk Racing car stranded. Oh yeah, that's Archuk Rasvan taking an experimental line.
Razvan decides to go do a bit of exploring of the scenery before he come back onto the track for his lap.
Butcher's still purple in 3rd, and I think he's got a draft from Torborg.
Yes, but those who were definitely nose to tail when I saw. I think they've now switched positions so that Chris has now got some clean air.
Yeah, he lost the time again.
And he was sideways through the middle of the S's there, so that won't have helped his lap time either. But Haniel Sapti going quickest, and it's still 7th quickest, ahead of Peter Hennenberg and Chris Shepherd and also Matty Orban. So certainly stepping it up for race 2. And I think for some of these newer drivers also, like Haniel Sapti, like these Walk Racing guys, in many ways they'll have used race 1. I'm not sure. And would you agree that some of these guys, obviously, whilst they're battling, They'll have used race 1 as more of a well-publicised test session, because effectively, even though they're up near the front, these guys, they're still learning out there. They're still learning these circuits, learning the car, learning the sim that they might be used to in other championships. So, to be fair, these guys, even though it's a learning process, some of these guys are already being massively impressive, as we've touched on already.
Well, I think it's actually the other way around. People who have been driving this championship for 3 full seasons, they think, oh, it's just another mini season. I don't need to prepare so much. I'm quick anyway. And these new guys, they're putting in the practice because they see, okay, it's TPS, it's a really competitive championship. I want to win there. Maybe I don't want to, everyone wants to win, but most of them will realize they can't win from the beginning, but they want to do everything to be as competitive as possible. And so I could imagine that especially guys like Henneberg and Nearing put in a lot of practice for this event. We see the PHR drafting set. Oh, that went wrong. Matuszewski hits the back of Munro there. That's a shame.
I'd imagine that's not exactly the start to the partnership that John Munro would have wished for. Second qualifying session, already gets rear-ended by his teammate. That he will not have appreciated, but I'm pretty sure that with John's very understanding. Also, what Matt Emmons was doing there, what Matuszewski was doing to say, get out of it, get out of the way. As Munro follows Matuszewski out of the pits, but Munro, of course, that's something like right there is something that can happen in situations with teammates. Of course, sometimes when you get a bit of misjudgment, a bit of miscommunication, sometimes as again Matuszewski decides to take his own route through the chicane, and Munro is to follow suit and kind of wonder, what on earth are you doing, Thomas? Davide Carvalho has gone to 6th quickest, just in front of his teammate Jimmy Hughes, both with exactly the same lap time, 1:33.232. So, but of course, how that Hani Al-Sabdi does a 33.1 to jump to 5th. So, I have to admit, this is great stuff so far from Madcate. They've certainly come on form in the second qualifying session. All 3 of their cars so far, currently for the moment at least, the top 10.
Yeah, and but what's also happening at the moment is that only 3 cars are in the 32s actually, and I think a few more guys have the potential to set a time in the 32s. Definitely Paul Patrick, I've got no doubt about that, because he already did it in the first session, but maybe also Hani Al-Sabti, who seems to be on a pretty quick time. Once again, drafting with one of the puppy racing cars. Tom Ely also in 6th place for puppy racing. He's hoping for a better qualifying this time, so he's not stuck in the battle, because he's definitely got really good pace. I know him from back in the 2013 season that he can challenge for wins, even though he never won a race in the minis. Yeah, and there we go, Tom Ely, purple out in the first sector.
That's not something that's really uncommon, of course. It's quite a few guys, if they get a good run through, they can go quicker in the first sector. Al-Sabti has lost a bit of time. He's now down by almost half a second. So whether or not the aero effect of the car in front, which I believed was actually it's Chris Shepherd. I thought for a second it was possibly an Opton sim racing car, but it's not. You were right. It was one of the puppy racing machines. As Al-Sabti will bring his number 87 Madcap machine onto the pit straight.
Henneberg was 5th for walk racing, by the way.
Does indeed. So he's up to 5th, whereas Al-Sabti could have placed himself still 6th.
I think Paul Patrick is on a pretty good lap at the moment. Yeah, he gets the draft from his teammate there as well, and he's not purple at the moment, so he probably won't beat the time of Campfield, but he might as well slot into 2nd. Chris Butcher now also with the great first sector with the draft from Torwag. He might have been a bit too close though to get a draft for the full lap. Cullen moved into 4th. There we go.
That's more like it. That's more like the Ryan Cannon we know. As Patrick goes to 5th. Doesn't improve his time. Tom Ely up to 4th now with a great touch. So some great laps coming in thick and fast. Ely now only a 10th off the fastest time. Fernandez up to 6th just behind Oscar Hardwick. Oscar's not the same pace we usually see him. He's rather rapid. Oscar's one of those all-round drivers I've seen that you can stick him in almost anything. With the likes of somebody like Jack Keithley, and he will literally just be quick in anything. As Paul Patrick goes fast in the first sector, as does Oscar Hardwick.
Oh, and Butcher still after the 2nd sector. That's a good lap time. No, he doesn't have the draft anymore, but he can still... Maybe he can move up into 2nd place at least. And also in the final minute of the qualifying sessions, everyone has to set a decent time now if they want to be a bit further up on the grid.
Well, this is one of the tracks the most rubbered in, so Butcher will bring it onto the pit straight once again, and he'll be bidding and get himself off the 2nd row and onto the front row alongside his teammate Jesper Tolborg. If he can split both of them, it'd be fantastic. He goes
on pole!
Awesome lap from Chris Butcher. He goes fastest by 0.6 of a second.
And he
And
did
Adrian
not have a
Canfield-
draft in the final sector. This whole straight, he's been doing it without a draft. So that's the perfect time. Oh, and the walk, racing cars, they were sideways.
Oh,
Canfield's
that's
going
it.
off, and I've seen Patrick going sideways as well. So I doubt he can improve, even though he's still on a pretty good sector.
And the clock's going to run down because there's only 5 seconds left, so Canfield won't get another lap in. For the moment, at least, Chris Butcher is on as it clicks down, is on provisional pole position as they head down towards the second. Canfield still stays
No
by
improvement.
almost.
Hardwick into 8th place. That's the time he was hoping for. But
So
I
Hardwick
don't
is now
think
up to
anyone
8th.
can beat Butcher now. Patrick goes back into the pit, so his sector is just showing up as a mistake. It's not actually on another lap. I think Al-Sabti's still out, and still with the draft of Shepard. Maybe he can improve as well, but I doubt anyone can beat Chris Butcher here.
We'll see exactly what how Sabti can come up with as he heads into the end of the second sector. We'll see exactly what his sector time comes up with, and he is off by how much he's coming across the line. He's only off by about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah,
But
but
not-
still improve.
He may still improve, absolutely. But we'll have a look and see what he can do. Bring it through the
Oh, he
S's.
runs wide here. It might still be an improvement, but maybe you should look at Diogo Silva in 12th. He's a bit further down the order than he would like to be, probably. But he's on a good lap. The GT Competizione driver.
Well, he's a tenth
Yeah.
quicker than what Al Sabti was at that point on the circuit. As whoa, one of the racing cars getting very sideways off of the X. I think he was aiming for the pit lane. But yeah, Shepard goes to 6th, and Al Sabti 9th as well. So a couple of jumps. Shepard then, without the aid of a toe, as it was with Butcher, improving his lap time. And here comes Diogo Silva across the line, and he goes to 8th. So he gets up into the top 10, and he pushes out Oscar Hardwick. So good effort from Diogo Silva to get himself up there to make it. He's the only GT Competizione car in the top 10 because Peter Rodriguez only managed in 16th. And look at that, Javier Del Carvalho and Jimmy Hughes. It's incredibly close in the 33s. Look at that. It's looking down the field, exactly the field spread. I mean, to be fair, the top, I can work it out, the top 24 separated by seconds. Cardozo goes 23rd. But the top 24 all separated by less than a second. That just shows how quick and competitive this field is for 2014. There's a lot of quick drivers in there, and the spread is not that much. Very, very impressive stuff so far.
I was surprised that we saw only such a few drivers in the 32s. I think it were, how many were it? 4 drivers only in this session. But when you look at the times behind, there's like 15 guys on the 0.0, 0.1 or 0.2. So it's really, really close. And such a small mistake can cost you so much positions in qualifying. And that might make the difference if you can drive a nice lonely race without being under pressure, or if you're in such a battle like Jimmy Hughes and John Monroe were, for example, in the first race.
And certainly some surprises in qualifying. I think nonetheless a pleasant surprise. Ryan Callan up to 5th in that qualifying session. Certainly found his mojo in that second session to get himself up into the top 10.
I think Ryan will say this is not a surprise. This is this is where he should be. Just messed up the first session.
Well, compared to his first session, it's a pleasant surprise for us to see him back up the top 10, which is nice. So it's good to see that. Chris Shepard, 6th quickest as well. Great effort for him for Puppy Racing, the highest qualified car. But no, it's not. In fact, it's Tom Eady was 4th quickest. So I do apologise. So 2 Puppy Racing cars in the top 10. Could have been almost all 3 had Oscar Hardwick not been pushed out of the top 10 by when Diogo Silva put his lap in. Peter Hedeber and Hani Al-Sabti 10th quickest as well. Much improved from he had in his session in first qualifying. Of course, he qualified 16th. This time, starting in the top 10, he could be a dangerous threat if he gets himself up to speed in race 2, for sure.
Yeah, and we also, of course, when we see people doing better qualifying sessions than expected, we also see them, the other way around. Like John Monroe, I think in 13th place in qualifying only. That was probably not what he expected, but of course there was a little bit of contact with his teammates in this session, which certainly didn't help him. Also, Walk Racing is still a pretty strong performance from them, but Paul Patrick definitely won't be happy that he's quite far away from the front row. I think he starts 7th. So, yeah, I mean, this guy, he was doing running information with Canfield in the first race, and now he's got a lot more work to do. But this is also exciting for us, of course. We won't see the same happening as in race 1, where they can just run away. They will have to battle their way through the field, and I know Chris Butcher, he's a pretty tough rival on track.
And we know the start that Chris Butcher managed to get in race 1, which allowed him to get the jump on a couple of cars in front of him. Of course, he got the jump, I think, on Gus Verver, which allowed him to get himself into third place, and which got him onto the podium, got him into that position at least, where he was fighting with both his teammates and also Peter Rodriguez. So Butcher is a demon starter given the chance. He will certainly want to prove himself going forwards. Camford, of course, is a good starter too, and that's going to be tricky. It's going to be exciting to see both those guys drag race each other down towards turn one. Of course, never discount Jesper Tolborg, third place on the grid, and Tom Ely and Chris Shepherd for Puppy Racing. They are the proverbial. I guess this phrase is usually the case. Usually the phrase is cat amongst the pigeons, but it's puppies amongst the pigeons, because they have definitely thrown themselves into the mix and certainly going to be worrying some of the top guys. Paul Patrick, who was on pole, only starts 6th.
He only starts 7th actually, because Ryan Cullen apparently left the server. I'm not sure.
Yes, he has. So, that is correct. He has dropped for a second.
I hope Ryan comes back in time, because I want to see Ryan Cullen battling there at the front. This could be really exciting.
Well, of course, the form guide, of course, will show itself as the season progresses, and of course, hopefully over the second race we'll get a better idea. Malazewski and Paul Patrick putting the first times for warm-up as we continue to watch the two GT Competizione cars having a bit of a fun scrap out on track, as Rodriguez gets slightly sideways and almost loses it and decides to hell with this, I'm going to the pits. As he goes through a practice start. Oscar Harbeck is currently going purple in whichever sector he's in, but he's not. He's obviously, that's not going to count for much going forward. Paul Patrick is once again going quicker, as Rodriguez decides to try out a spot of drifting to warm up his rear tyres, and that's a tactic these guys are going to be trying implementing as he comes forward to get to his grid slot to our practice start also. And how crucial is it for these guys to practice their starts during warm-up? Because of course that's something that a lot of drivers do, to use the time wisely during the period between qualifying and the race. And also, I mean, as a driver point of view, what do drivers usually focus on in the warm-up session should they decide to go out? Do they focus on race pace? Is it setup? Is it practice starts? What is it that, from your experience, drivers in this situation at this point of the weekend focus on before they go into a race?
Well, first of all, about the starts. In these cars, you have the possibility to run launch control. I know some guys don't do that because they think they can do a better start when they start normally with the clutch. I was never doing a normal start. I was always using launch control, and I think it's the sensible option because you always get a decent start, and there's no need of adding more risk. And in the warm-up sessions, usually in leagues where you run different setups between qualifying and race, you use the warm-up session just to get used again with the race setup. Maybe also the track temperatures changing a bit also. In the minis, it's actually not that important to run so much in the warm-up session because these cars feel really similar between qualifying and the race. So you will just use it just to get your braking points. Remember them, maybe trying some other braking points when there's other cars around and so on. But the session is only 5 minutes as well, because there isn't really that much stuff that you need to test before the race. I think most of the drivers, they are already pretty well prepared for the race anyway, and that's how it should be, of course, that they do these sort of preparations beforehand.
So as the cars head off then to their formation lap for race 2, we'll run you through the 30-car grid once again, and it's the man who is bidding for his first ever TPS championship after so many seasons of trying. Chris Butcher lines up on pole position with a scintillating lap, despite the fact he didn't have a draft in the final sector of his lap, and he took it by 0.06 of a second from Adrian Campford of Walk Racing. The second on row 2, Jesper Tolborg in his second ever mini race in TPS, lining up third on the grid, looking to get himself another podium to kickstart his championship ambitions. He's always very consistent and will look to do it again. 4th, Tom Ely for Puppy Racing. 5th, Ryan Callan, who did make it in. He'll start on row 3 alongside Chris Shepherd. Row 4, 7th, Paul Patrick, the man who got pole in race 1 and took the victory. Also, a lights to flag win for him. What can you do from row 4? Diogo Silva, 8th place. Peter Hennenberg, 9th. And Haniel Sabti, much improved qualifying session up there in the top 10. He could be one to watch if he gets himself off the line well and a good hard couple of laps in to kickstart the race 2. Oscar Harbeck just outside in 11th. Gus Verver, 12th for Walk Racing. John Monroe in 13th place for THR. Javier de Carvalho 4th. And as I hand over to Rob for the rest of the grid, it's Jimmy Hughes in 15th place on the grid with Peter Rodriguez alongside him on row 8. Take it away, Rob.
Yep, in 17th place we got Tomasz Matuszewski for THR. Then it's Ryan Walker for Optimum Sim Racing, followed by Luis Fernandez for GT Competizione. Then another Optimum Sim Racing car, Jonathan Walker-Clint. Mate Orban in the third Optimum Sim Racing car, followed by Klaus Neering for Walk Racing, who had a pretty bad qualifying compared to his first one where he was running in the top 10. Next one is Miguel Cardoso starting from the pit lane actually for GT Competizione, so he will be at the back of the field. And Andy van der Velde for Rockhart. Our independent driver Paul Crawford. Then David Nunn, the American, driving for Smile Power Racing. Richard Rasvan for Walk Racing, the independent driver Matt Ammons. And rounding out the field, the two TK racing cars of Stefan Kosubek and Marcel Rotocco.
Just quickly, Rob, of course, lining up onto the grid. What goes through your mind in this situation? You're lining up on the grid, the lights are about to come on. Quickly, what goes through a driver's head at this point?
I'm just praying, you know, everything. Please, everything has to go right here. No crashes. Let's get a good start. Survive the first corner.
Well, let's hope so, Chris. What Chris Butcher will be hoping for. Here come the lights once again. Then it's race 2 for the first race weekend at TPS. Can Butcher take victory from pole position? Can it be Campfield? Lights out. We are racing once again. Decent start once again from the front row. Look at that. They slot in single file. First, second, third, fourth and fifth all together. And Campfield, Butcher's immediately been forced to go defensive. And look at Tom Ely on the outside looking to try and challenge both Talborg and Campfield. Under brakes for turn 1.
Campfield tries to go for it. Makes a bit of contact with Butcher. I think he's in the lead. Campfield takes the lead.
He has. Campfield with an awesome pass around the outside to take the lead from Chris Butcher straight away. Talborg heading in third place. Then it's Tom Ely. Callan still retaining 5th place. Paul Patrick in 6th place from Chris Shepard. Henenberg, Hani Al-Sabti up to 9th. And Diogo Silva rounding up the top 10. And the pack, it seems, so far, all
Butcher tries to attack Campfield. Butcher tries to go for it, tries to go on the inside. Campfield's closing the door, but what Butcher has to do is he has to try to pass him as soon as possible. He can't waste any time here because Campfield is so quick. He's proven it in the first race.
And Callan is being shuffled quickly down the field. Look at that, Jimmy Hughes darting out from somewhere. That's Al-Sabti right in the mix of things. They come down. Sideways.
Callan sideways.
Callan gets tagged sideways. That's not the sight we've seen for the first time. And now he runs door to door with Chris Shepard as the top 5 immediately start to try and top 4 actually, start to sprint away already. The pack behind them is sideways again. Diogo Silva battling with Paul Patrick over 9th and 10th. Patrick's been shuffled down to 10th from 6th, down 4 places already. As now Callan back up the inside.
Shepard past Shepard.
Gets the job done. No, he's run wide. Shepard's going to maybe make it through back on the inside. And Sabti's getting in there also as well. Fantastic stuff on the first, that fast and frantic, but Campbell has the lead by 0.3 of a second from Talborg in third, then Ely, Henenberg, Shepard, Callan, Al-Sabti, Silva and Patrick and Rob. This could change the blink of an eye down towards
3 wide again. Al-Sabti on the inside. He's braking a bit earlier than Callan. Shepard goes way deep in this corner. He sends out Henenberg there. He can rejoin the track, but that was a... Patrick! Paul
Patrick up on 2 wheels. Also see someone's gone wide.
I think it's Hardwick. Hardwick's way off the track.
Hardwick, where are you, Guska? Where are you going?
It looked like rallycross.
And that was, I think, someone got spelled up into the barrier.
It's Al-Sabti.
No, it's
De Carvalho.
Sorry. Javi De Carvalho got speared off onto the grass. This is fast and frantic here in the midfield, as we had in race 1, even more so, in fact. And I think at this point, it could be the fact they're fighting for positions, but Rob, these guys are going at it hammer and tongs. It's only lap 2. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is really crazy, and I think they're all lucky that all the cars are still going there, as De Carvalho makes a very aggressive pass on Tomasz Matuszewski here. This is so close. I mean, even a little misjudgment from one of the drivers can cause massive chaos here when they're going so close to each other. Back to the front of the field. Just look at this. It's crazy.
A fantastic shot, isn't it? 1 by 1. Through there is, I think at the back of the field, it's possibly Matty Orban. No, here come the final few stragglers. Matt Evans, I think, is at the back of the field.
I think Butcher is close enough to send one up the inside in the first corner. And I think Butcher, he doesn't want to waste any time. He just wants to get past Campfield as soon as possible. And he's got the inside line, actually.
Here he comes. He might have a run down here as he's probably going to pull alongside. He might get the move back in if he can get himself up the inside. Throws it up there into turn 1. Campfield closes the door and holds on. And this is now bringing both his teammate Talbot.
Butcher a bit sideways there. It looks like Butcher, his car's just sliding too much. You could see it in the first race already. That every time he was going through the S's, that his back was stepping out. And I think this could be caused when maybe he's running too high rear tire pressures. and he's definitely on the lowest wing setting as well on this car. And this is really fast setting, but it's also difficult to control when you're battling with someone. And I think Butcher's lucky that he's still close enough to Campfield now that he can that he's still in the draft, because Torvald won't necessarily attack him at this stage. Butcher needs to watch out. That's a very wide line again. It's not what we see usually from Chris yet.
It's now allowed. Sorry, it has now allowed Jesper Torvald up on the inside, but decided to slot in and think about it for another day. As the top 4 breaking away pretty close, but I have to admit, the man that's most impressing at this point in the top 4, Tom Ely, holding on to 4th place. We know he's no slouch, and he was also an ex-THR driver, but in some ways for Puppy Racing, doing a grand job so far, and actually upholding team honours right now in 4th place. Good stuff.
Yeah, and I think Tom will just wait a bit and see what happens to Butcher, because Butcher, I don't know, it looks weird. It's not what we've seen last season from him. He was always very accurate and always very fast. Now he seems to be still in 2nd place, of course, but he seems to lose the gap to Campfield.
Now we look back towards here, and this is the battle going on as we see. This is Al Sabti getting right in the mix. Look at this upside cannon. He might make a pass 2 into 1 in the first corner. Can he get stopped?
Al Sabti definitely misses the corner here. Has to let them back through.
He'll have to give it up, and also there goes Hennenberg and Callan. But credit where credit's due. Here comes Al Sabti, gets to run back on the exit, and he's going to run past Hennenberg into 6th place. This is a fantastic run from Hani Al Sabti.
Actually, he was off the track when he started this move, so this is definitely not a legal pass, because he passed Hennenberg into the first corner by running completely wide, and just now used the run to get past him again. So he should better give this position back, unless he wants to have a penalty.
We'll wait and see. He's certainly getting defensive into the hairpin side. As far as I think Al Sabti is concerned, he's done nothing wrong.
Ely into 2nd. Ely into 2nd. What happened to Butcher there? Butcher into 4th. It happened before. Happened before.
They went 3 wide. Look at that. The 2 THR red cars opened up the gap, and Ely said, "Thank you very much, boys. I'll slip up the inside." Torvald didn't give it up easy.
Oh, but Butcher just moved out of the way, it looked like. I think we're still on the replay here.
Yeah, so we're just going to go through live pictures exactly what's happening. This is exactly what's happening. Talborg and Butcher. So, but look at Campfield pulling away already. As and also what's talking, Al Sabti's got through into 5th, and look at the train that's gone with him down the pit straight. As these 3 are going at it, this is a fantastic race in both, all the way down the top 10. Ely holding on to 2nd, as Al Sabti in the background gets swamped by Walk Racing cars behind him. But they hold Lion Stern 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We'll keep an eye on that in a second. But back here, look at this.
Patrick makes his way through. And Patrick, now that he's in 5th position, he's got the same pace as Campfield. We've seen that in the first race. So he will try to close the gap to the THR cars in Ely.
And as we talk about that, Ely this time going defensive. Are they going to go 3 wide again? Well, this time Talborg's going to go to the outside as the Ely defends that inside run. Ely won't give it up an inch. We know he's a fighter. We know he's going to give it up. And here comes Butcher up the inside. Slips it up, slips one past Talborg and says, yeah, leave the gap open this time, Jesper, and I'll take it from you every single time. And also I see that Al Sabti has lost another place to Ryan Callan in 7th place now. So that's all happening. But at the front, I mean, Adrian Campbell has a 1.5 second advantage. I'm pretty sure he's looking back in his mirrors and thinking, yep, keep scuffing amongst yourselves, boys. I'll just go ahead and take a race victory if you don't mind me.
I don't really see Campfield dropping back into the clutches of Ely at this stage, because he's already proven in the first race that he can just go a very, very quick pace. Yeah, it's looking pretty strong for Campfield and Walk Racing once again.
We're looking at Ryan Callan, 6th place, much stronger race than it was last time for him. Of course, look back at the back of the field. In 30th place, and immediately he's going to do exactly what Al Sabti did, goes to the inside,
that's something I have to call out, though. This waving on the straight, this is just, he's doing it once again. He's moving from one side to another, and that's just, he's just trying to prevent the other drivers from getting a draft from him, and this is something that I was driving against Ryan in the previous race in Mid-Ohio, and he was doing the exact same thing, and I was furious as a driver when I saw that.
Looking back to the battle for 2nd, Ely, Butcher and Talborg fighting across, and Butcher seems to be lining up, ready to possibly think about making a move on Ely for 2nd place. He's bringing Talborg with him, but Butcher seems to have more focus on trying to grab 2nd than defend 3rd as they head back towards the hairpin in the middle of the 2nd sector. And what line will he take this time? Butcher looking for an outside run this time. but Ely has done enough to hold him off for this point, at least on the exit of the corner.
You can already see Paul Patrick in the background. I think he will close the gap. He will try to close the gap down as soon as possible, and the car should be stronger, especially when these two are still battling.
Back through the S's once again then, and it is still Ely holding on to second place, Butcher third, Tolborg fourth. Paul Patrick with a great start. He was down in about 6th position. He's low as 10th or so, back up to 5th. He's been up and down the top 10 like a yo-yo. The head pair comes to the pit straight once again. We see them flash past. There is Patrick, then Callan, Al-Sabti, Silva, and then of course Monroe, Hennenberg, Hughes, and Shepherd, and Gus Verver, and Zefki Rodriguez heading this pack as well as they head through. Back down the pit straight. Here comes Butcher. Then he's going to go to the inside. This is for second place, and it's another step on the podium to have a shot at running out off the Campfield. He's through up the inside, and I wonder if this now could be the start of him chasing off. He's got some 10 or 11 laps to possibly get the hammer down and chase after Campfield if it's possible, but 2.5 second gap to make up in cars that are identical. No easy feat, Rob.
No, definitely not, especially with the pace Campfield has shown throughout the event. I think Butcher more has to worry about Ely, Tolborg, and possibly Patrick behind him. I don't think he's really still considering the possibility of a race win here.
Well, certainly trying as hard as he can to hold on to second place as Ely, he now becomes the hunter, and Butcher now resumes the role of hunted, because he's now holding on to second place, and Tolborg just sat there quietly, just watching these two fight along amongst each other, and we know that Tolborg attacks only when he needs to, rather than attacking all the time, and he will go for this gap if he senses that these two are going to start to getting each other's way. Once they do, Tolborg is in exactly the right position to capitalise should he need to. But look in the background also, 5th place Paul Patrick has pulled away from the rest of the top 10 battle, and he is possibly in scope with the lap times he's running to get himself into this fight to make it a 4-way scrap for second place. So watch for him in the background there. Car 71 just closing into the back of these three, as behind once again Ryan Callan leads the Snake down the pit straight as they're in the battle for 6th position. Again down towards turn 1. Al-Sabti to the outside of Callan into turn 1, going to move across, and that's a beautiful move from Al-Sabti to get
He just
stopped.
runs a little bit too deep. Oh, Callan also runs deep, and Silva comes through.
Oh, and he's tagged Al-Sabti! Al-Sabti sideways, and Monroe trying to get himself in the middle of the gap.
Silva just gained 2 positions by this move, because these two were just trying a bit too hard there. There's a second Madcap car now in it as well as Henneberg in the walk racing car. Callan has been shuffled back a bit.
Yeah, Callan's now down to 8th spot, and still possibly going to start tumbling further if he's not careful, because Jimmy Hughes and also his teammate Peter Henneberg is also in the mix as well. So Callan could find himself starting on lap 6th, ending at 10th, just as Paul Patrick did a few laps ago. But of course Patrick has escaped this pack, and he's now starting to push on as Callan now going to the outside of Jimmy Hughes now to try and reclaim 8th position. Hughes staying exactly where he is, so he's forcing Callan to go a long way around this time. Into the S's they go. It's a very tricky part of the course.
Oh,
if you're
contact.
There's a bit of contact,
Callan
bit of a hip
can
and
just
shoulder.
save it. Oh, Hughes so sideways.
sideways.
That was Henneberg on the inside, and Monroe just right behind him, waiting for his opportunity. 3 right into the next corner. 3 cars don't really fit in there.
And indeed they didn't, and Hughes has somehow come out of this on top. I'm pretty sure Callan's thinking, what on earth is going on? He's back down to 10th.
That was Verver in there as well.
And
Where
also
did
shows
Verver
John
come
Monroe.
from?
And John Monroe also in 11th place. Look at this. It's Paul Patrick, fastest lap of the race, justifying his race-winning pace from race 1. But this is the scrap we need to watch for, of course. We know that Butcher, Ely and Tolborg are scrapping themselves, but look at this. This is magnificent. Down towards turn 1. Who's going to be last
on
of
the
the late
inside.
breakers?
Oh, that seems to be... This time they made it through clean. Oh no, Monroe!
Oh! Monroe gets shuffled off into the
There was
grass.
contact between him and Verver, but I can't tell if it, what exactly happened. Now we see the replay here.
Let's go on board. So we're going to look here. This is on board. We look back.
He definitely gets a touch from behind.
Let's see if we can revert that and look behind and see exactly what happened to Monroe on that occasion, because let's see. So looking backwards now if we can quickly. That's not really helping. Let's see now who was the culprit.
Oh, that's Gus Verver. That's Gus Verver on the inside, but the problem is where can he go? He's already on the curb, so that's just a case of too many cars wanting to go for the same piece of track.
He's now rejoined back, and if I look at where he is now,
David
he's
Nannon.
down 23rd, fight with David Nannon. Because those two are good friends, so Hopefully there's no shenanigans between those two very much. Back towards the front, and what's been happening
Wow.
since been away. Whoa!
No, that's a second THR orange car. That's Matuszewski, but he catches the car.
So Smalazewski getting very out of shape. Poor THR Yellow is thinking, what do we do to deserve this? First Monroe gets shuffled out, and Matuszewski gets sucker punched in the middle of the S's. It's incredible stuff. As now we see here, and now that
I think Silva and Asapti got a little gap to this battling group.
And where's Diogo Silva come from? 6th place, ahead of Hani Al-Sabti. This is incredible stuff from Diogo Silva. Upholding the form that Pipo Rodriguez had. Al-Sabti, we know, he's a fighter. He's not going to give up the outside too easy, but he has to relinquish it this time. All over the curbs, and still a very sharp direction change from his GT Competizione car. As behind, they're still going at it. The 3 Walk Racing cars are still fighting it out with Jimmy Hughes. So this is a fantastic fight to watch. And behind also there's a great scrap going on, I think, which also includes, right in the back here, we're going to look see who this is. This is, of course, Javier de Carvalho.
That's Luis Fernandez on the inside there.
And Paul Crawford also as well in the independent car, the TouringProSeries liveried car.
Oh,
so they're
bit of
going
contact.
at it.
Patrick now on the inside line, but Fernandez will have the inside for the next corner. They make contact again. I think, yeah. Got it, Crawford got the position. They're still fighting for points. Top 20 get points in this championship, of course.
And what was intriguing is that Crawford started to almost continue moving across, and Fernandez, I'm sure, would have got to a point where he said, well, where else do you want me to go, Paul? Give me some room here. Effectively, there has to be a limit, of course, when these guys keep moving across, and that effectively could have ended in tears had Fernandez not been smart about that and pulled out, because Crawford could have caused an accident, or could have at least ruined his race. He gets a little bit sideways through the S's.
Oh, Crawford!
Sideways.
He's on the grass again, and Fernandez gets back. Now moving back up the field again. And there we have the battle. And look at this, Paul Patrick, he's closed the gap. He's right behind Tom Ely and Jesper Torvald, because Ely goes for it on the inside in the first corner, and I think he's through, yeah.
Well, Torvald must have got through, and it comes Patrick up the inside.
Oh, he makes contact there, just like, he's wasting no time, he's taking no prisoners there.
Opportunistic move from Paul Patrick up 4th place, and Torvald won't take that one lying down. He will come back at him when he gets a chance. He may send it up the inside into the corner. Yes, called it. Here he comes.
Oh, Torvald runs wide. Torvald runs wide.
Oh dear.
He's on the grass. That will cost him. He will be lucky if he can keep the position. That was a strange move from Torvald. We don't really see that so often from him, but he tried to, to give it right back immediately and completely overshot the corner, and that pretty much ends his chances of getting the podium.
That was uncharacteristic from Torvald. We don't usually see him, as you said, making desperate late-breaking moves or running wide like that, but certainly a moment of desperation there from Torvald to hold on to that place. It's quite intriguing. I think
Torvald was really unhappy with the way Patrick passed him before, and to be honest, I can understand that. But in the end, he ended up much worse by his own fault. As we have our first retirement of the season, Matej Orban is unfortunately out of the race, the Optimum Sim Racing driver, with suspension damage.
So, quick check-in with the guy at the front. Adrian Campford leads by 3.8 seconds. Right, we've done that. Now let's go back to 2nd place, because Campford has the pace and looks so it's going to be a victory for him, and something major goes wrong in that instance. Back down the pit straight, Butcher has 2nd, but he may be worried in the moment, because here comes Paul Patrick. The pace he's showing is incredible, and it's been justified here. Here he comes up the inside of Tom Ely into turn 1. Simple as you like, Rob. Easy pass up the 3rd.
Yeah, looked like Ely wasn't really defending there. He could see it coming and just gave it a position. And let's see if Ely will try to send one up the inside in the next corner, or maybe he will try to stay in the draft, and maybe they can both get past Butcher eventually. Of course, it looks like Paul Patrick is the fastest car out of these 3 at the moment.
Well, surely Ely would have seen his mirrors exactly what Torvald was trying a lap ago and thought, well, there's no point me trying to make a dive, because effectively I'll end up exactly the same as JT did, so there's no point me trying to push it at that point. But Patrick now will certainly get the hammer down to get right onto the rear bumper of Chris Butcher in the next couple of laps, and it won't surprise me when he is by about the end of the next lap, or lap 14, when he is right up there challenging for 2nd place. But Butcher will defend that one to the hilt, because he needs as many points as he can get to get himself a good start to the season. That was like that last year, though, where we had a great start for Chris Butcher and for yourself, of course. Rob, you guys have won 2 last year, and how much of a confidence boost is it when you get that first victory in the first race of the season? How much of a boost is it, not only for your points tally, but of course for how you feel and the way you hold yourself in the season going forward into the next couple of rounds, because it certainly sets you on your way, doesn't it, for the rest of the championship, to get that first under your belt. You've got a bit of a monkey off your back on that one for the season. Then you can start to settle in and think about how you're going to plan to attack this championship.
Well, it's definitely good when you start off with many points, because otherwise you're always on your back foot. You always have to try to score more points than the other drivers to catch up, and there's a lot of pressure. So that's always good, but I think what will happen also is Campfield and Patrick, they won't have the situation again when they are so much faster than everyone else, because everyone else will step up their game, because they don't like it that they get beaten by these guys. Look where Patrick was coming from. He was in 10th position in the beginning of the race, and he's chasing Butcher down. So that's pretty strong stuff on these walk racing drivers, and I think the other teams, especially THR, they don't like that at all.
Seeing now, look, Hani Al-Sabdo getting in amongst it, outrun up in the top 10, fighting with Diogo Silva, had the inside run down towards turn 4, but over this time, didn't exactly give up the place, so this time Al-Sabdo will try again, under brakes for the outside, gets the cut back, could be a nice little run if he can manage it. Silva will get the power down on the exit as he runs wide out of the hairpin, but it's enough to hold Al-Sabdo at bay for now, but the run through the S's is all important to see if he keeps a stable run through the sweeps, and I think Silva has just about kept on to it. Yes, he has. So 6th and 7th, Al-Habsi on the Sabti on the grass. I keep calling Al-Habsi. That's the name of the Wigan goalkeeper. I'm not sure in football. I'm not sure why I'm saying that at all. But Al-Sabti is the man that's in 7th place and holding on. Just behind, of course, we've got Peter Hennenberg and of course Jimmy Hughes and Gus Verver. As there goes Al-Sabti, and ahead. Here we go. I called it into
Patrick.
turn 1. Butcher's not going to give it up. Oh, Patrick's slightly sideways. And Butcher's sideways. He cuts the side of Patrick, trying to get the power down. And Patrick just kept it there, didn't move an inch, and there he goes. He's through into 2nd place. So once again, it is walk racing 1 and 2. But is it done? Because Butcher will once again come back to the outside. And Butcher with a last bit back towards the inside. Oh, that was... he tried it, but he just wasn't far enough alongside. I think he also realised what also again, same thing with what Illy's situation was. He kind of had in the back of his mind what Talbot tried and thought, nope, wasn't worth it.
Yeah, but there's only 3 laps to go, and I think Butcher has to fight very hard to stay somewhere ahead of Paul Patrick, because he's just losing points to these 2 guys. It's not only in the Drivers' Championship, it's in the Teams' Championship as well, where Walk Racing will have a massive lead after this round. So I think this is not over yet, even though when Patrick has the faster car, because Butcher is now in the draft and he will try everything just to stay close to him and try to pass him as soon as possible. There he comes, not quite yet. In the final corner, Patrick gets such a good run always. He can keep a narrow line, while with Butcher's car you see a lot of movement, and that's not really good. But now Butcher, of course, is close enough with the draft, so let's see if he can get on the inside, or we'll try to go on the outside.
Well, he's forced Patrick to go very much to the inside, so one exactly what he's going to make. He will get him to go to the outside. Oh, Patrick's moving slightly across to get back towards the racing line. And Butch, if he can try it around the outside, fantastic move if he can pull it off. Patrick forced him across the grass, held his line, he was entitled to do so. Sideways action from Butcher as he gets it back onto the road. That's going to possibly allow Tom Ely back into the mix to try and grab 3rd place. How amazing would that be if Tommy gave himself a podium in his 2nd race for Puppy Racing back in the VMC? As we look in the background, Talbot is kind of in no man's land in 5th, as here comes Butcher again to the inside down towards turn 4. But again, Patrick is far enough in front, closes the door, holds his line as he's entitled to do so. And
Patrick hasn't checked out yet though, so this is not over yet. Oh,
and neither is this.
You leave them alone for like 1 lap and look at what they're doing.
And that's Silva, Al-Sabti and Hennenberg also battling along for 6th, 7th and 8th. Al-Sabti again on the inside.
That was a dodgy pass.
That was naughty.
A pretty dodgy pass from Al-Sabti there.
That was a little bit uncalled for. Al-Sabti leaving his braking too late. And then I'm not sure if Al-Sabti appreciates that in sim racing you kind of have to give the place back after a corner if it's illegal. But twice he's done that now where he hasn't given the place back after he's made a move like that. And we'll see exactly how this is going to play out, because we continue to watch that we're seeing here, of course, Hennenberg and Silva's been shuffled out 2 places as a result, to both Al-Sabti and to Hennenberg. And Jimmy Hughes is getting himself involved, and so is Gus Verver and Ryan Callan stuck back in
one of the
place.
Walk Racing cars definitely ran wide a bit there. Still back on the track. And it seems like Patrick is checking out now, and Butcher's under pressure from Ely.
Ely thought about a move up the inside, but again, Butcher has enough to keep third place for the moment. We're on the penultimate lap. Talbot, we've almost forgotten about him. 5th place, and it's strange, since he made that move, just hasn't been on the pace to his teammate. All these 3 in front just seems to have dropped back and just seems to have steadily almost like accepted he's gonna get the points for 5th place. It's kind of isn't really pushing all that hard. Did you think? I mean, do you think that's just him settling for 5th place, Rob?
Yeah, I think so. He doesn't want to make any more mistakes and get back into this battle for sure. And I also don't think it's really possible to close down the gap in these cars, because there was quite a big gap after he made the mistake, and it's just so hard to recover because these guys, Butcher, Ely, they're definitely quick. So yeah, he'll probably finish 5th, but that's okay. He takes a lot of points as we see Silver on the inside of Henneberg there.
It's a bold pass up the inside of the hairpin. Great move, but he couldn't get it to make it stick.
Got it back, and there's I think that's Verver on the inside of Hughes as well.
Certainly is. They come across. There's Hughes going to be able to hold that inside run. He might have the inside line for the next corner. If Verver stays exactly where he is, they're going to possibly touch. And Hughes finds the grass. So does Verver, but
Hughes is still ahead of Verver.
Also looking back quickly, of course we've got Peter Rodriguez in 12th place, I think.
We're on the final lap now as well.
And we've had a change between Verver and these two. And also we can see there that Silver and Henneberg battling, but back up towards the front, and Butcher's still 3rd. But here's our man that's led the race from start to practically from start to finish ever since turn 3 on lap 1. Got around Andy van der Velde for Roccat Racing, and now has a 4.6 second lead going into the final round, into the final lap, as Paul Patrick 2nd place, Butcher and Ely still 3rd and 4th, no change there. Talborg settling for 5th, and the points that go with it, rather smartly. Then the cavalcade down towards turn 4, led by Al-Sapti, then Silver, Henneberg, and they're still going at it. As we look here very quickly to exactly what's going on. This is where things get desperate, because here comes Henneberg and Silver off the exit, and Henneberg is for the moment up to P6, but Silver might throw it back up the inside. Now is that and also the background? That's Callan and Verver getting involved with each other. 2 teammates, Callan to the outside, Verver holding on, and Callan's just about braked himself and possibly could come under attack from Peter Rodriguez. However, back towards the front, this man, I only talked about him, but with a performance like this once again, when a leader does this, you hardly ever do. Just let him get on with it, and he delivers the goods. Out of the final corner comes Adrian Cantfield. Great start to his season, 2nd place in race 1, and a win in race 2. Walk Racing have announced themselves as championship contenders. Cantfield takes race 2 at Curitiba, followed by Paul Patrick, the man who won in race 1. Then Butcher just holds off Ely for 3rd and 4th. Solborg on his own in 5th, and Hani Al-Sapti coming in 6th place, the GT Academy man, coming home. 7th place is going to be just about, I think, Henneberg from just Silver, Hughes, Verver, Callan, Rodriguez, close as you like across the line. Walker and Shepherd 14th and 15th. From Madazewski 16th, and Crawford, Carvalho, Oscar and Monroe all across the line together as they stream across. And I think had almost 24 cars come across the line, if not more. But a smaller collision behind as well. I'm not sure what that was, but that's what was left of Matty Orban's car for that incident, then spinning across the tarmac as also Ryan Callan gets involved as well. But Rob, great race in 2nd. Again, lots of close action in the midfield once again. But Adrian Cantfield, I mean, Walk Racing especially, for Paul Patrick and Adrian Cantfield, pretty much dream start to the season for them. A podium and a win and a 2nd place each.
Yes, and that was such a dominant performance, and I think you could see it best when you saw where Patrick was after qualifying in the 2nd race. He started in the midfield, dropped back to 10th position in the beginning of the race, and just fought his way back into 2nd place, and they got another 1-2. So these guys, they will be so hard to stop for the rest of the season, especially with these points that they've already gained here.
And of course, also looking back as well quickly before we decide to go for a quick break and then talk to some of the drivers. Of course, Butcher fighting back again. Of course, decent start for him and for THR Red. Points for both Butcher and for Talbot going forwards. They've each taken the podium apiece. What do you think they need to do personally from your point of view, obviously going forwards to try and close the gap to Walk Racing? Of course, obviously they're doing everything they can, but what more do you think they can do to possibly try and gain more of an advantage?
I think I've got the feeling that some drivers may have underestimated the challenge that Campfield and Patrick are providing for this league. So I think all the other teams, they have to do a lot of practice work on their setup and their tire pressures, especially to regain the advantage that they had last season.
Well, as usual, we've been invaded in the commentary box by several drivers. So what we'll do is we'll step aside for 1 minute just to give a quick shout out to our guys at Inside Sim Racing, and we'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll grab some reaction from our race winners and podium places in just a few seconds' time. So stay tuned, and we'll get all the reaction from this weekend's racing. It's wins apiece for Patrick and Campfield. Let's get the reaction in a couple of minutes' time. Back in 2.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to the post-race interviews from races 1 and 2 of round 1 of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge here on Touring Pro Series. Quick reminder, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, TouringProSeries.com is our official website. Also catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/TouringProSeries. Follow us on Twitter at Touring_Pro, and subscribe to YouTube.com/TouringProSeries to catch every single broadcast back in full, including anything you may have missed in this one. So let's get straight into the interviews then, and let's talk to, first of all, the man who took pole for race 1 and the victory in race 1, and that is Paul Patrick. Paul, great start to the season for you. Of course, before this race weekend, you had 2 podiums to your name in the minis. Great start from race 1 off the start, and of course, you and Adrian walked away from it, as is the name with Walk Racing. Talk us through race 1. Pretty simple. You and Adrian up at the front. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just got a good settings for the car, like in testing and that, so it was pretty straightforward. The first race and the second race, I just made an absolute mistake qualifying, and it was really difficult to get back through the field, really.
Of course, the form that you've shown as a team in this first race weekend, how much confidence is that going to give you as a driver and collectively as a team that you have a chance to possibly be championship contenders even at this early stage?
Yeah, I mean, it's gone well so far. Me and Adrian just got approached by Mr. C, or whatever his name is, at the start of the season, and it's all going well. I mean, we just do our own thing and just help out the others in the team, and it's paying off so far, so good.
And you had a really good charge also through the field in race 2. Of course, you started roughly around the middle of the top 10, but great pace you showed. Of course, capitalising from race 1. What was it like out there battling to get onto the podium in second place with both Tom and Chris for the for places on the track for you? How was that for battles?
Every lap was like a qualifying lap, and I knew that Chris and Jess were had to overtake in the first opportunity I got, because they're good drivers and they know how to defend and quite clean. I mean, the racing was hard, but I think it was fair. So I'd just like to thank them for like not turning it into like destruction derby sort of thing. So.
Well, fantastic job to get first and second on that one. So congratulations to you taking your first ever TPS victory, and of course the second win ever for Walk Racing. Rob, if you possibly want to have a chat to the man who won race 2 in a rather dominant fashion, Adrian Campfield. I'm sure you got him next lineup for yourself, Rob.
Yeah, Adrian, that was probably the start of the season that you were hoping for. Really strong first race where you finished second, and then a dominant win in the second race. So how was it for you?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Me and Paul knew we were going into this first race. We had good speed. We've been working a lot on qualifying, because last year because we were new to it, we didn't learn the drafting very well. So we spent a few weeks just practicing drafting, and that's what really done it for us, really, because we spent so much time driving around together. The first race was just push away and won by quite a few seconds. And the second race, it was just make sure I stayed in front. I knew we had the speed, and then Chris and Talberg ran off coming off turn 3, and that gave me 3 seconds, or no, about half a second, and then that was it really. Just kept my head down and we was gone.
In the first race, it looked like you were battling with your teammate, but in fact you didn't really change your position so often. I'm not sure if you even changed your position at all. Did you just agree on the finishing order by the after the start, or how did you solve that?
Yeah, we just we were talking the whole way through the race, just saying just going to push each other, and I said I'm not going to pass you. Let's just get away. And then he was just like defending a bit just for the cameras. But yeah, we just want to thank Walk Racing for signing us up and giving us good support throughout this. And it showed in the first qualifying. We were 1, 2, 3, so I think we've got a good team this year.
Well, congratulations, Adrian, for this result in the start of the season. And I think Scott has got the next driver.
I do indeed. I'm going to have a chat to Chris Butcher. Well, Chris, obviously coming into this championship, of course, this season, a lot of expectation off the back of the previous 2 seasons. You managed to get yourself a 4th in race 1, if I've got that correct, or are you spaced in the top 5 in race 1 and a podium in race 2? How does that stack up for the start of the season? Of course, win would have been better, but how is it in your view, the start of the season from your point of view?
Disappointing, to be honest with you. I think I could have done better, but got a fault with my throttle pedal. It looks like I was losing sort of 2/10 down the straight, and I just couldn't defend. It was impossible. And then as soon as I lost the draft, that was it. Yeah, I suppose given the circumstances, 4th and a 3rd, I can be happy with that. But I need to try and get the pedal sorted out and maximise the rest of the season.
Of course, last year you had a lot of competition going for the championship, and of course, again, you missed out. Of course, this season, of course, I mean, at any point did you think that possibly with, drivers like Eric Strana and Eric Tveit and other stronger drivers not being part of the lineup, did you think that possibly that this season could have been the easiest, the best chance that you could have had for getting the title in minis, or did you always think the competition was going to be pretty strong going forwards?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I knew that none of the previous champions were going to be here. So yeah, but I don't really want it to be that way. It'd be a bit of a shallow victory. I don't want it to just be a walk in the park. And thankfully, the likes of Campfield and Patrick Talborg have come along. So it's going to be a fun season, I think.
So, of course, going forward into the next round of the championship, of course, going into the next round, if I can remember exactly where that is, at Zolder. What are your expectations going forwards? Of course, Walk Racing have shown they've got great pace going forwards. But what do you, in your mind, do you think that you guys need to work on at THR to make sure you can close the gaps then? Because at the moment they seem to have quite a strong pace from the get-go, so they seem to have a bit of an advantage going forwards. But what do you guys need to think to do in your mind to try and close the gap?
We need to sort our qualifying performance out, I think, because we didn't really practice the slipstream too much. I need to sort my throttle pedal out. And we just need to work on the tyre pressures a little bit because we seem to drop off over the race distance a little bit.
Well, fingers crossed you can get both the qualifying pace and the throttle pedal sorted for next time out. But Chris, well done anyway. 4th and 3rd, decent start of the season anyway, and fingers crossed you can capitalise on that going forwards.
Very much.
Rob, I believe you got the man that finished up there near the podium in race 2, 4th place. I believe you've got, if he's around, but he was around for a moment. So I was looking for Tom Eady, but he has disappeared. So, sure, Rob, take your pick. Who do you have next?
Yeah, I want to have a word with Hani Al-Sabti, who had a pretty strong finish in the 2nd race, but that was also there was a lot of battling in this race. So, Hani, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How was that, your first race in TPS?
Well, it's hard work here, man. A lot of bumping around, and didn't expect that at all. I thought it would be a little bit cleaner than it was. And race 1, I couldn't get the qualifying as it would be because I was following my teammate and I made a lot of mistakes. But in quali 2, I did it for myself without any draft, and it went better. The race for me, I could have done better, but I had a really bad battle with Diego Silva. It was really hard to pass, and I sometimes see some guys try to pass through you instead of next to you. You know what I mean? So it's really hard work here, man. But it
Well,
was great. Result for race 2 was good.
well, I hope you have a little bit more luck and cleaner racing than in the second event.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I think Scott has got the next driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking through who we've got in the room, we've got a plethora of drivers. I think actually Tom Ely has reappeared. So, Tom, if you're around, Tom, great performance for yourself in your first race weekend for Puppy Racing, particularly your fourth place. Certainly shows some great pace. But I mean, from your point of view, are you satisfied with this weekend?
I'm very satisfied. I've had a long time out and I've got a lot to relearn. But it's good knowing I've still got the pace.
That's always a good thing. Obviously, race 2 was the big one. Of course, you're up there with the top 4, up there fighting with the likes of Tolborg and, of course, and Adrian and Chris. I mean, what do you think it was? Of course, going forward. Of course, you've got quite a strong pair of teammates in Chris Shepherd and also Oscar Hardwick. Do you think that the combination of you three is what made you guys so strong, especially in this opening weekend?
Yeah, I think we worked well together. Put together a nice group of lads. We all get on. We all crack on. Just a bit more preparation next time, I think.
And speaking of next time, what are you hoping for from Zolder? More of the same, of course, progressing possibly onto the podium, because you were pretty close here in race 2.
Yeah, just want to be fighting up there at the front. I think everyone in the team does.
Well, fingers crossed you can keep on progressing on, but congratulations on 4th place anyway. Great pace you guys have all shown collectively so far, and fingers crossed you can capitalise on it. Good stuff. Rob, do you have anyone else that might be of interesting to talk to at all?
Yep.
And next
I
driver.
got Peter Henneberg here, I think.
Hello.
And yeah, 2 top 10s on your debut. So how was that?
Yeah, that was a great result, really. Didn't expect it. It was a hard practice, really. I don't really like the track that much.
To me, it looked like you were always in the center of every battle throughout the races, especially with your teammates as well. You know, Gustava,
Yeah.
Klaus Niering.
Race 2 was pretty tough, but well, I decided to let Paul pass because really I can't hold him back. Yeah.
Well, nonetheless, great result.
Thank you, and thank you to the team as well.
All right, Scott, do we have anyone else or?
Just having a look. I mean, so we could have. Let's see. We've got Jimmy. Yeah, we'll have a quick chat to Jimmy Hughes, I think, because he was up and down the top 10 in quite a while. So, Jimmy, you had quite an eventful first couple of races for the season. Talk us through how you saw it from your point of view, because as Rob said, obviously the same with Peter. You seem to be in quite a lot of battles, especially with a lot of the walk racing guys for a majority of both races.
Yeah, the walk racing cars seem to be following me around at the moment. Pity it wasn't the ones that were winning the race that I was battling with. But no, it was really good fun, to be honest. It was my pace has been really, really poor in the last season, and to be honest, it was just good to know that I'm up there in the top 10 fighting, and yeah, it was okay, but race 1 was a little frustrating because the pace felt really, really good all the way through, but I just found myself stuck in 12th and couldn't make a pass anywhere. Every single time a load of cars went into a corner and there was carnage, I would always just come out in the same place and just couldn't really go forward, even though the pace was great through the whole race. But yeah, race 2 was good. Still dropped off a little bit towards the end, and overall I'm happy. So it's good progress for the team, I think.
And speaking, of course, collectively about the team, of course, you've got a very strong driver lineup already, and all around with yourself and Javier, and also with Hani coming on board as well. I mean, does that give you a lot of confidence as to how you guys can progress as a team going forward this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helps with preparation before the race, having a lot more guys there to put input into the setup and working together, particularly in qualifying, although we didn't quite get it nailed today. Definitely think that's going to be a big advantage going forward. I mean, we've got a couple more guys as well that couldn't make this round that'll be there, and it should be pretty quick as well. So, yeah, going forward, it's good. We're definitely in a good place, and definitely happy to be a part of Madcape at the moment.
And apparently, Javier just whispering in my ear, you've got a few more top line drivers with real racing experience coming on, which we won't reveal just yet. But of course, I've just seen there's quite some talent coming through, especially from the South African side of things, that I'm sure Javi's had some influence on there as well. But so it looks like things are looking pretty much on the up for you guys. And of course, I'm pretty sure that going forwards, if you can capitalise on all this experience you've got, surely you must be looking for some more regular top 5 and top 10 finishes, I'd reckon.
Yeah, sure, definitely. The championship aim has got to be a solid top 10 finish, but it would be really, really good if I could finally crack my first podium at TPS. That would be the ultimate goal, I guess.
Well, I think with the team you've got, I think they're certainly going about the right way about it. So fingers crossed you can get at least somewhere closer to that going forwards into the next race weekend in Zolder, Jimmy. But well done for the results anyway, and good racing from all around from everyone.
Cheers.
And I want to say thank you to everyone, of course. Congratulations, of course, to Paul and Adrian for their victories. And congratulations to everyone putting on a fantastic show to open up the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge. You've all driven fantastically. You're all brilliant guys as well. And wonderful stuff from each and every one of you. You should all give yourselves a pat on the back, because that was certainly entertaining racing up and down through the field from top to bottom. So well done to all of you guys. Great job. I guess, Rob, if we turn to you, guess if we can get some final thoughts, of course. What racing? Certainly almost walked it this weekend. I went there. I used it. But in terms of whole, I mean, Walk Racing really have come out fighting with this championship, and they really have taken the fight to THR, and possibly in a season where people like Chris Butcher could have thought this could have been possibly an easy chance to get the best possible chance to get a championship victory. But it seems that they've got some more competition coming through, because looks like Walk Racing, they're going to push them hard this season and push everyone hard and force them to do the catching up.
Well, this is how TPS works, I think. Maybe Ice Cold, they can't, they don't want to do this season, but then Walk Racing steps up, Medcape comes closer, GT Competizione, Puppy Racing, all these other teams or new teams, they get close and they battle for podiums and for wins. And this is a good thing, so it's not easy for anyone. And I hope, and also won't be easy for the Walk Racing guys. I hope the other guys can close the gap and we'll have some really exciting races.
And of course, going forwards, the next round, of course, we've got is going to be at Zolder. I'm not sure how much you've driven in there at all, Rob, but what kind of a circuit are these guys going to expect going forwards into the next round?
Well, I think the most important thing to know is that this is actually a night race. So the temperatures will be different, the visibility will be different. So it's something we haven't done so far in the mini-series. And I've tested the track a bit. It's quite fun. It's got a tricky chicane with anti-cuts where, when they try to go through their 3 wide like they did today in some of the corners, that won't work. But in general, it's a pretty cool circuit, and I hope it will be exciting.
Well, fingers crossed. I have to say thank you very much to Rob. Of course, his expert analysis has been very insightful and very thankful. So, of course, it's brilliant to have him alongside me, not only for this race weekend, but also going forward for the rest of the championship. So, thank you very much, Rob. It's been a wonderful pleasure, and we'll see you. I'm sure we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time in Zolder.
Yep, 2 weeks from now, second round, and I hope you all tune in again.
Well, hopefully you guys will do. Of course, it's going to be a cracker, as we said, Zolder underneath the lights in 2 weeks' time. But of course, this is only the start of our summer series of Touring Pro Series racing, because of course, next Monday we kick off the virtual Clios. And myself and John Monroe will be calling the shots for that one. And once again, we'll be back here at Curitiba to see exactly how they construct their stuff. Of course, to see if possibly we can get some fantastic racing. Of course, it's not been rebranded the Thomas Local Clio Series. It's back to the standard virtual Clio name, and hopefully it can live up to nature as it always has done for the past 4 seasons. That'll be next Monday at just after 8 o'clock, about 10 past or 8:15 on Monday, the 21st of April. So, of course, some fantastic racing to go to kick off the bank holiday, of course. So hopefully you guys can enjoy that and they get to relax and chill out with some top sim racing. And, of course, there is the schedule going forward, so you can see it on your screen. Of course, Zolder is the next round. But as we said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this broadcast. It's been a wonderful start to the Virtual Mini Challenge and the Touring Pro Series for the summer. And of course, we're in for the long haul all the way until September. It's going to be a fantastic run until we get to that last venue at Mid-Ohio. But for myself, Scott Woodwiss, and for my co-commentator, Rob from Wiesenmueller, and everyone here at Touring Pro Series, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And going forward to Zolder, it is Walk Racing that have the advantage with Paul Patrick and Adrian Campbell taking wins apiece here. Can they keep it up? Can they walk the championship? Or can THR fight back? We'll find out next time. But until then, from TPS, bye for now.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.